Hello, everyone, and welcome back at the FIDE Women's Candidate Tournament 2022 Pool B. We're having the second round, Game 3 in progress, where Tanjongi and Alexandra Goryachkina is facing each other for the win. Only winner can go to the finals of the candidate tournament, where she will face Neiksans. Today we will be your hosts, Grandmaster Arturs Neiksans and Women Grandmaster Keti Tsatsalashvili.
Hey there, Keti, again. Nice to see you back and everybody else who has come to watch us, the Game 3. So it's going to be quite a day ahead of us, because I do think that the start of this semi-final match did not really disappoint, and I wonder what exactly today is going to bring us, because I have a feeling that it was the Chinese Grandmaster who was calling the shots in the first two games. So here you see the results so far in the match.
That's right, and we had two draws. They tried their best, both players. Tanjongi had in both games edge little bit on the board, but Goryachkina handled it well. And today we have Goryachkina with white pieces, Tanjongi with black pieces. Let's take a look in the playing venue if we have already players at the board, and we can see Alexandra Goryachkina waiting her opponent, but we can also guess that Tanjongi has already arrived, as we can see her coat.
Actually, it's quite interesting. There's even in the regulations, there's a rule that you can't be late. What was it? I think if you're late to arrive before the start of the game, it's fine. Something like, what was it, $500 or something like that. Of course, It did not happen. Yeah, it's quite heavy. And I mean, for obviously the photography reasons, because the photographers have to do the job, and I think they can do it in something like first 5 minutes or so. So that's why it's not only just to make it for the photographers, it's the respect for the opponent. And you can be late for 15 minutes and then you're forfeited the game. So it makes sense, right? Otherwise, imagine starting a football match and the entire second team is missing.
Oh, yes. We had such a situation in Georgia when football team was missing. They were playing against Georgia. Don't really recall which team, but they were late because it's a huge traffic in Tbilisi these days. And they got in traffic, and then at the interview, the main coach was telling that it was kind of sabotage from Georgians, but it's the life of us to be in a traffic jam. Another very interesting thing, and why I brought up the traffic jam, because sometimes we play in the playing venues a bit far from the hotel, and you need to take the transportation. But at this event, players are staying in the Faravon hotel, where they have also the playing venue. So basically, they can approach the playing venue just by walking.
Right, FIDE has done really a great job giving the participants and everybody who is making sure this tournament is happening really great living conditions. So reports so far are really good about the playing venue. The city itself is very beautiful. Ancient city of Khiva, Uzbekistan. And yeah, so the game's about to start. I think it's like 1 or 2 minutes. And Keti, I have a question to you. Do you have a prediction? What do you think is going to be the opening? Is it going to be d4, or this time Goryachkina has prepared something else?
I think we might have the same opening as the last time, which means that Goryachkina started with 1d4. We were speculating, would it be e4? Because we were thinking that can be an idea, as Tanjongi has already played several games against Katerina Lachno, and Goryachkina already knows what is Tanjongi's preparation, more or less. But anyway, she chose to go with d4. That's what she usually plays. And today, my thought is that she will go once again with a d4. How about you, Artur?
Yeah, I also think it's probably going to be the same. Now, this time she has a little bit more information. What was this Queen's Gambit declined? I actually looked up. It wasn't really technically the Yanovsky, because I'm a bit puzzled. Is Yanovsky without knight f6, you play a6, or also Yanovsky counts with knight f6 included? But anyway, we are going to talk about those details as soon as the game is about to start. We are going to explain all the subtleties of the line. And here you see the arbiter is ready to start the game.
That's right. Seconds before the start of the game, both players are ready. Here we have the handshake. And first move from Goryachkina. We are looking forward to see 1d4 or 1e4.
She's thinking. Big choice there. There's many legal moves you can make. E4, D4, C4, knight f3, B3.
Magnus there's a long pause. She's not making the first move. What is this about?
Magnus once even played A4. Right? Okay, here, jokes aside, D4 is on the board.
D4, but it was a pause, a long pause. She was keeping her opponent wait to see the first move as she could successfully play 1e4, 1d4. I believe also knight f3 is a possibility when you can play these two openings. But then in the end, she went for d4, knight f6 is on the board.
Okay, that's a surprise, I think.
Tanjangi, yes, who choose now different move.
It might, of course, lead to the same opening because if my memory is not incredibly bad, I think she responded with d5, but still with e6, d5, they might transpose to the same. So here, this is the start of the Queen's Indian. If black will play b6, now here, white has choices to play a bit more aggressive, knight c3 or knight f3. I think that pretty much it's all about the repetition. Knight f3 is the positional way, and knight c3 is immediately going for hostilities. The Bogo Indian, look at that. That's a surprise.
That's something new in the bishop to b4. Looks any of white pieces to go on d2 square to occupy that square where white pieces will not be so comfortable, neither knight or bishop on d2. So that's why black is kind of provocating with this check bishop to b4. And Artur, this is something new that we have not seen at this tournament.
I mean, okay, here, of course, black can still play d5, so maybe Bogo is still yet early to call it. I think very challenging choice here for white to play knight b to d2 to keep the both bishops on the board. So in a nutshell, I think we are going to wait maybe for a while and not start to analyze this position too deeply. But there's a choice, essentially, between knight b to d2. Bishop d2 is perhaps a more positional approach, and knight c3 then white would play in the spirit of the Nemzo Indian. So I don't really know which continuation Goryachkina is going to choose, but this is definitely a surprise because the Bogo Indian as the variation itself is a rather rare weapon, and she does look surprised.
She does look surprised for sure, as Tanjangi has never played this move, and also she is now changing her preparation in this match. Usually when we have the match like only with two players and they are facing each other in many games, they go with the same openings and they are trying to improve.
Not a big question. Yeah, not a big question. Are we going to get a true Bogo Indian, or here Tanjangi is going to switch to something like d5 here? A big moment here. c5, I think that's Bogo still. Short castle is Bogo. b6. I think that Arkady Nadic is a big expert in the Bogo Indian, didn't he release this chessable course some time ago? I don't recall, but if there's one big expert of Bogo Indian comes to my mind, I think it's Nadic. And there you go, d5's on the board, so it's some sort of Queen's Gambit decline again. No Bogo.
Yeah, it depends now what white will play, really. If white goes with g3, we can also see some kind of Catalan positions. If white goes e3, that we can see some kind of Queen's Gambit decline position. So still we are not so clear at this point what is the name of the opening, but it's always kind of a mix of everything.
Right.
They say chess is just a mix of everything.
Right, I mean, it's very interesting, right, how you can switch the openings. For example, you start with knight f3, it's ready. Black plays c5, you play e4, he's Sicilian. Or it starts with ready, it switches to the Catalan, and then it's something else, right? Again, really interesting, these turning moments, and perhaps it doesn't even matter, right? It doesn't really matter. But here, Goryachkina has to make a very big choice, and I think that if I was white, obviously, I would try to spend some time trying to figure out where my opponent is taking me. Because it's not only all about making just good moves, right? Of course, I think it was Bobby Fischer who was famously quoted, "I believe in good moves," right? And that's it. But still, I mean, you assume that your opponent has prepared something. And when you're sitting there with white, you're thinking, what kind of information she has? Have I played this before? And you try to recall, what have I played against this bishop b4, knight b2, d2, d5? What were the recent games? What could be the follow-up? What game she's trying to replicate here?
That's right. And also, what's the strategy of the opponent? Is she's going to eliminate me in the opening and go with a more like calm position, equal position, because Tan Zhongyi with black pieces would be just happy to end this game rather short and go in the final classical game with white pieces. And Goryachkina for sure wants to try. At this point, this is just the beginning of the position, and obviously she wants to grab some advantage here in the opening. Talking about the previous games, Artur, it was a very interesting situation, and we have also seen the interview of Alexandra Goryachkina, where she said that there was not a big deal in the first game, and she just guarded at the position, and they repeated moves. They played almost 100 moves. Remember, this was so crazy day, longest day for this event. And then yesterday was also very interesting. Sorry, the second game was also a very interesting situation when Tan Zhongyi was once again pressing. Let's take a look now at the interview of Tan Zhongyi before we are receiving and waiting the move from Goryachkina, and we can see some very interesting information from her.
Zhongyi Tan joining me for the interview today after draw in the second game of the semifinals. Can you please tell us how was the game, how you're feeling, what were the critical moments?
我感觉就是在开局阶段应该都在戈尔亚奇金娜她的布局准备的范围之内。然后我知道她好像之前下过一盘类似的，但是我没有把这个棋作为重点，确实。然后可能也因为昨天下的比较长，今天这盘棋没有选择就是特别复杂的变化。中间我在这个就是我那步棋想了很久，我在考虑要不要第五复杂化的，就是进入一个不均衡的局面，但是我还是选择了稳妥一点。他的今天的防守非常的好，没有给我什么机会，然后最后我们就很平稳的收场了。
Okay, and yesterday you had a really long game, 98 moves and 5.5 hours or even more. Do you think you were a little bit tired today? Did it affect your feeling today?
就是确实可能就是明天是正常的休息，然后前一天的那个棋确实是下得太久了。我个人其实也有一些遗憾，临场的时候我确信知道自己是有机会的，但是很遗憾我没有找到正确的转化出成果。
And my last question, it's a very beautiful place. We are here in Hiva in Uzbekistan. Do you enjoy staying here? Are you feeling good in Uzbekistan?
我第一次来就是乌兹别克斯坦，然后这个我想在下完了之后有机会领略这边的就是风景，因为我可能不会回到中国，我要去参加哈萨克斯坦的世界会棋赛，回国的时间可能不是很充足，所以说我可能会考虑留在这里。
Okay, thank you so much. Tomorrow is a free day. Enjoy, and we'll see you in the third game of the semifinals. Thank you.
好，谢谢。
Well, there was indeed the beautiful scene of the ancient city, Hiva, which the tournament is happening. And we just learned, Artur, that Tanjangi is considering to stay at this city before she goes in Kazakhstan for World Rapid and Bleach, which happens in the end of the year. So that's a very interesting point that she mentioned in the interview.
It definitely makes sense, Keti, because Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they have a very large borders. So why go all the way back to China, right? And again, come back 2 weeks later. Maybe there's some other travel issues as well. But anyway, this means that Tanjangi, despite the fact doesn't matter how she's going to finish this match, there's a good chance she's going to stay, enjoy the beautiful looks of Hiva. You saw it yourself, dear viewers. It looks really, really nice there. And yeah, and she also said she was probably a little bit disappointed with the result of the first game, which of course is understandable because she had some reasonable chances. But, I mean, she might still have them in game 3 or 4, or maybe even tiebreaks.
Yeah, it was just one half of the tournament and another half is ahead of us. Let's see how the rest day worked for both of these players. We can say the preparation now went good for Tanjangi because she changed the opening and it seems like so far it's working because it took Alexandra Goryachkina to make her next moves in about 8 minutes. She took so far for 5 moves this long, which I think Tanjangi and any of the players then should be very happy with the home preparation like that.
All right, and maybe now let's take a step back and have a look at this bishop b4 check, which is usually the start for the Bogo Indian. But again, black keeps options to respond differently. And to explain the idea why Goryachkina here went knight to d2. Why this move? Why this weird move? Because you're looking at this position, you're wondering, why close the bishop, right? Why don't play the obvious move, bishop d2? Well, the idea is really simple. For example, if black plays short castle, finishes the short castle, keeps all the options in the center available, like moves like c5 and d5. Here, white has move a3. And now, the big point is, if you take on d2, white captures with a queen. And either with b3 or b4, you choose whatever you like more, positions the bishop on b2. And that is essentially the bread and butter, one of the strongest weapons that white has against the Bogo Indian, the 2 bishops which are backed by a powerful pawn center. And if black doesn't do this, if she goes back bishop e7, she needs to counter properly the move e4. And again, this is pretty sharp line. It would go something like d5, takes, e5, bishop d3, h4, you name it. And that's the reason why Goryachkina played this knight b to d2. I could play it myself as well. And now d5 is the response from Tanjangi. She's entering some sort of, again, Queen's Gambit declined, threatening, I guess, at some point maybe to take on c4, maybe play some sort of a Catalan. And again, Goryachkina make a big choice. She could have played a Catalan with g3. She could have played a3. She could have played maybe b3, e3. And e3 seems to be like the solid approach here.
That's right, Artur. And one more detail that I would like to add about knight d2 is that whenever white plays knight d2, it means that white wants to keep the bishop on the board. White needs more pieces on the board, and bishop d2 is offering trade of the bishop, which simplifies more or less the position. And if you want to make a draw, you would personally choose this opening. Like I think every of the players with white pieces, if you want to make a draw, maybe you will go bishop d2 to just release everything on the board. But if you want to fight, if you want to get an advantage in the game, you most likely will go knight to b to d2. Also, this was a message for me when Alexandra Goryachkina played knight d2. She wants to get advantage, at least in this position, in the openings.
Right, and now she has chosen to play e3, so Goryachkina's idea is to exploit this bishop on b4. So, for example, if black would play something aggressive, like c5, trying to kill white's strong pawn center, you always need to watch out, again, for this a3 move. Now, your pawn on c5 is under attack, so I guess bishop a5 is out of the question. You simply snatch the pawn. And after bishop d2, now I guess take with the bishop. And white always is hoping for sort of position like this. Let's say, take it, take it. So very quickly, right? Very quickly, we're just jumping to this position. And white says, listen, I've got two bishops. I'm going to play f3, e4 at some point later. And my dark square bishop is going to rock the dark squares.
Yeah, that's right. That's indeed a very good position. If white gets here the pair of bishop advantage, for sure to open up the position, that's just better for white. After d5 and d3, black castled here and avoid any kind of queen a4 checks or whatever. Arthur, in these positions, very often, black then retreats the back on e7 or d6 and change the plan completely, because now this bishop on d4 is not really pinning the knight on d2, as knight is well guarded by 5 pieces.
That is right. That is right. But I also think a lot of depends what white is going to do next, because here Goryachkina wants to find out, is she going to develop the bishop on d3? Because one of the big things of various Queen's Gambit decline positions, whenever d4, d5 setups are met, black wants to take on c4 as soon as white has already developed his bishop. So I want to take it at some point, and I'm saying here from the black's perspective, you just wasted a tempo for bishop d3 and bishop takes on c4. And then whatever black does, like c5 again, or maybe b6 or knight e7, maybe the bishop goes back, like you said, Keti, very similar to the game of tangent key with white color against Katerina Lagno, right? This bishop d6, knight c6, e5 idea, which was quite a thematical idea in their match. So I think here Goryachkina, what she's doing, she's trying to figure out how to save a tempo for this bishop d3. Because if black takes on c4 right away, she could take the pawn in one move.
That's right. So maybe white can consider to play move like queen c2 or queen b3 to attack this bishop on b4. Also look for b7 pawn at some point. But it surely slows down the queen side development. And Arthur, as white has already played pawn e3, then white's idea will be to play at some point with b pawn, b3 or a3, b4 and bishop b2 to develop this bishop out there. So Tanzhangi actually decided to take the pawn on c4 after Goryachkina played bishop d3, Arthur.
Yeah. She decided, okay, it's not a big deal. She's accepting the loss of the tempo. And of course, this is what I told, right? Black immediately tries to underline. Now, this idea is only possible because you made it happen, right? One of my favorite strategies, choose the continuation to underline the weakness of black's plan. And after bishop c4, b6, black solves the problem of the light square bishop.
That's right. And the thing is, why black gave up the center and took the pawn on c4, right? And not to play b6 right away. At that point, we can see this position, bishop on b7 is wide open here on this diagonal and controls everything. And after, if we go just to move back, and if black decides to play b6 right away without capturing on c4, then white very often takes the pawn on d5. He takes d5, and now this is a very tough situation for black. Should I continue to develop this bishop on b7? But now I have d5 pawn, and my bishop attacks this pawn. And if I develop my bishop on the other diagonal, e6 or g4, then why I played b3? Because now this is a completely useless move.
You know, it's sort of already become a standard. As soon as black plays b6, white very often takes on b5. And one of the reasons, maybe we have to explain it more in detail, why white pretty much never wants to take on d5 here. Because after c takes d5, e takes to d5, black plays c6, and he has a very healthy structure at the queen side. And this last square bishop goes to g4. Okay, here sometimes white enters the so-called Kaspat structure with a bishop on g5, which we already saw in this FIDE candidates match so far. But here you see it's not possible. So exactly, black plays b6, you snatch the pawn on d5, and your idea from the white's perspective would be that you are hoping that black will regret this moment of b6, because now either the pawn on c7 will be weak, or after c5 we might get hanging pawns. And this is exactly the reason why d takes on c4 was played first and now b6.
Yeah, that's right. White castled here after b6 and bishop to b7 has been played. At this point, I think Black's idea is to play c5 to break the center and eliminate this pawn on d4. But the question is, Artur, are we going to see that right away, or Black first withdraw this bishop back on d6?
I'm not really familiar with this line, but I immediately sensed that the knight on d2 for this kind of position is slightly misplaced, because normally you want to position on c3. And here, something like if c5 happens, I'm not sure if White is going to enjoy it. So here Goryachkina is trying to force matters, asking Black a very direct question. Where are you going to position the bishop? And the answer came very quickly. Bishop e7, just as Keti you suggested, on e7. And you know why? Why not on d6? Because it feels more active, you know, the bishop controls a longer diagonal. I suspect, Keti, it has something to do with queen e2, very typical move, and e4, e5 threat.
That's right. That's right. White anyway wants to develop this queen on e2 to look for a6 square at some point. And on top of that, you have this e4, e5, and Artur, we have seen the positions when the pawn goes on e5. That is kind of invitation, the king side attack for Black. So yeah, bishop d6. The moment I suggested bishop d6, I saw this idea and was like, okay, how to take these words back?
No, I mean, it's a very normal retreat. You're absolutely right. So this a3 bishop d6, it's a completely playable move. But I think it's also, where was this? Let me go back here. Let's say here. The traditional retreat for the bishop in these positions is with the pawn on d5. And then we would enter some sort of a Nimzo Indian. Bishop b7, knight e7, a6. I mean, wait, maybe a6 is not even necessary because knight b5 is not available here. And then Black goes for some sort of inspired either kingside attack or does play c5, leading this position to the hanging pawn structures. But we don't have it, and Goryachkina is going to play it carefully. b3, and I think this has something to do with the match strategy, Keti, because again, she doesn't have to burn all the bridges right at the gate, right after the opening. The match is level, one each, and there's still the tiebreaks ahead in case the match will be drawn after the classical games.
Yeah, that's right. None of the players need to do very aggressive at the classical portion, but we're going to see a lot of fireworks in the rapid for sure. But now it makes no sense to be so aggressive. Goryachkina spent some time and she then made b3 move, which is very interesting. I would thought that she would go b4 rather active to kind of make some problems for Black to play c5 right away. But this can also be the source of changes, more and more changes of the pawns. So I think Goryachkina's decision to play b3 is just against c5. c5 here can be more comfortable because now this pawn attacks two of White's pawns.
I think b3 is more careful. I like your b4, Keti. I definitely do, because you are fighting for the c5 break, and maybe we could show it a little, because after c5, I mean, Black carries out the typical way to fight for the center. Then White could go past it, play b5, and establish a potential outside pass pawn, right? Maybe the knight on c4 or the bishop on c4 is a great outpost, but probably Black is fine. And also, after b4, it's quite important to mention a5 is not very good, I guess, because after b5, now if Black tries to, again, fight for the center with something like c6, now the big question is, why do you even include a5? Because now this pawn on b6 is a weakness, and the square on b5 is a great outpost for one of the White's minor pieces.
Right. So yeah, it's just a tiny little bit surprise for me to see b3 from Goryachkina, and yeah, obviously I don't think that at this point she is thinking that she has to hold back and try to not to complicate the position because she feels it's bad. It's just very likely she's just very careful, as you mentioned, Artur.
But Keti, I mean, these positions are still quite poisonous, right? Because I've seen many games, for example, such a wonderful, one of the strongest players in the world, Wesley So. He has played these setups many, many times and showing that, I mean, things are definitely not simple. And the fact that the position is very symmetrical, for example, let's say Queen E2, C takes, Knight E4, most likely, White has a chance to fight for the C6 square. For example, trade somehow the light square bishops, play B4, B5, which is a very common theme for the Catalan. Well, for Black, it could be a bit more tricky, so I don't like it. I mean, it's a very controlled continuation, maybe not as ambitious, but it doesn't mean that there's no poisonous ideas here.
Yeah, I recently saw the game of Carlsen Nakamura where we had this structure which looks so symmetrical as we had earlier. Carlsen played bishop a6, eliminated the light square bishop, and then at some point he started to push g4, g5, and he checkmated the opponent. That was like a crazy position because this bishop on b2 is getting very open and it targets g7. And then at some point after g4, g5, rook got on c1, c4, and h4, and there was a checkmate. Black could not just avoid it. So maybe it's a peaceful position, but still there's always a room for creativity. And, you know.
To be honest, I don't see immediately g4 to be played here, but I mean, we might get there because, of course, we still don't have the entire picture of what's happening here because the player just played out the first 10, 11 moves. But I like this idea, you know, at some point later, this bishop on b2 might have to say quite a lot in this game.
Yeah. It was the funny thing was that how I discovered it. Like I was just looking for the opening, and it's like, okay, it's equal position, slowly going there. And at some point, I saw g4, and the moment I wanted to just go to the next game, check the next game, I saw this g4, g5. I was like, whoa, let's go back here. Yeah, and it's so active.
But Magnus has a thing for g4 or g5 really, so I'm not sure. I mean, he definitely likes these moves. So immediately rings a bell, like a couple of games he has played recently with Black g5. Remember this Fischer Random game at the World Fischer Random Championship against Hikaru Nakamura? First move g5.
Yeah.
Perfectly legal move, actually. I mean, it's incredible. Okay, jokes aside. Now, after c5 here, what do you do if you're White? What do you do, Keti, if you're Goryachkina?
If I'm Goryachkina, I would play Queen E2 here to connect my rooks. For sure, because in these positions, Artur, I have perfect square for my queen on e2. It controls the diagonal, and I'm attacking a6 square. And definitely, if I trade the a6 squares, I'm gonna have really nice outpost on c6. And at this point, when I play also rook to d1, rook to c1, Black is struggling to find the spot for the queen, because e7 bishop is taking very nice square from the queen.
That is a brilliant point. And I think that this is also one of the issues that Black is facing in this position, because Black would be having no problems whatsoever if he would remove these bishops immediately. Here, they're gone, poof. So you play queen e7 and you do exactly what White wants. Rook c8, rook d8, you have enough loft for your pieces, and then whatever happens in the center, I guess Black is going to be ready in time to react to this. But here, where do you position your queen? And that's one of the biggest issues that Black faces, because if you play something like queen c7 just to connect the rooks and maybe hide a queen on b8, which is also the reason why I think Goryachkina started with rook c1. Now, what are you going to do after d takes on c5? Because something like knight c5 or bishop c5, are you sure you're not going to blunder some sort of a discovered attack against your queen? Probably not,
good
right?
Point.
Yeah, and b takes just creates weakness on c5. And even if this is not a tragedy for Black, it's a minor setback, right? You just create a weakness on c5 for no good reason. So that's why I think that Tangent key is going to do something else. But what? I mean, bishop d6 again jumps under queen e2, e4, e5.
That's right. I like this rook to c1 very much, because it's obviously avoids this plan of Black rook c8, queen c7, queen b8 to run away from d file, and it's kind of just waiting move. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the point.
Queen e2 next move.
Yeah, that's the point. So, okay, a6 is included. I think a4 is going to follow very quickly. But let's say I go here, rook c8. What changes because I play queen e2? Now, you have no access to a6 because the queen on e2, bishop on c4 create a very nice battery, and queen c7 is still d-takes on c5. So that's why Tanjan Key plays first a6, try to get rid of the bishop, and then play queen b6. Find a spot for the queen, so a4 should be automatic response here for Goryachkina.
Yeah, that's right. And for our viewers who, for now, don't see any problems with this queen on d8, that's possible because if you don't play these openings, you for sure don't know what's wrong with this queen. Is just perfectly seated there on d8. But the thing is that after queen e2, rook to d1, there's always d-takes c5 moves. There's always e5 knight e5 moves, e4 d5 moves, and any kind of opening up the lines is just very good for white. And black is just suffering to finding the moves there. You cannot move your rooks, you cannot really freely open the files because your queen is at the wrong place and there can be some pins. So for long term, black is suffering very much if white gets here some like slight better position.
And now I'm kind of wondering, what's going to be the response for black after a4? It could be something like c-takes on d4. Now, the point is, black could have some sort of a way at some point to play knight e5 or relieve the b4 square for the bishop. Maybe this is the idea, actually. Bishop b4, queen e7. And that's why for Goryachkina also, okay, I take it back. Maybe a4 is not really such a automatic move. Maybe she's thinking about playing d-takes on c5 first. And then whatever black responds, something like knight c5, it could be b4. But it's so little that I think that she's going to play a4. But to be honest, I mean, it's all about really perfectly feeling these positions. And there's plenty of games, obviously, played in these typical systems positions before, not essentially maybe particular this position.
Right. I'm also thinking what happens if white just allows b5 to happen. For instance, queen e2 here in this position.
I think then black is
b5, bishop to d3. Let's say
queen b6. This should be okay.
Yeah. And at this point, Artur, how about if we just start to play e4 and e5? So my bishop on d3 is at the right place to be. I want to play e5. I want to start to create some kind of batteries on this diagonal.
I guess I have to meet it with a capture in the center.
Yeah, bishop takes with the threat to the queen.
And now you're undermining the black queen's placement on b6. It makes sense. And if I play something like this...
I'll take with the rook, knight takes and b4.
Oh, very nice. Actually, I missed that. Very nice. Very nice. Typical idea. Sacrifice the exchange. Now white is winning. Guess you can't do that.
If you play queen a5, Artur, in that position, that's possible because a3 pawn is hanging. But white can totally ignore that threat and keep up the plan. Yeah, let's say
e5. Although there's knight f4, maybe queen e4. G4. I get your idea. Yeah, this is definitely an idea.
You know what also can be possible, but it takes some calculation, right? This is for sure the sharp one. I can also look for some instead of e5, b4 moves. So annoy this queen. If you take on my a3 pawn, I will play a rook to c7. This rook on the 7th rank, attacking the bishop now. And if you guard your bishop, like how you guard first. Like if
very good question.
Bishop a7 is alternative, but the main point is here e5, and you have 3 minor pieces on the 7th rank.
I like this idea really a lot, So again, how did this happen? It was we ignored the threat, right? Queen e2, prepare e4, so b5, bishop d3, and again it's all about maybe queen b6 now is a waste of time. So that's why here Goryachkina has a deeper think because it's not so simple. It's not all about a single move. Black could take on d4 first. Mm-hmm. And now how do you respond? Because bishop d4 drops the pawn on a3. By the way, very, very nice little detail. E takes closes your bishop on b2. So I guess knight e4. And now is your e4, e5 even actual anymore? Well, maybe.
Yeah, this is a good nuance. I think now rook c8 makes a lot of sense to avoid knight c6 threats, and any kind of trade is just lower my chances to attack on the king side. That's strong, right?
Or I could even play knight c5, knight e4, try to kill some of white's pieces here. But you look at this knight on d4, and the square on c6 might be a problem at some point later. Mm-hmm. For example, let's say rook d1, knight c5, bishop b1. Although probably not queen b6. Now I'm not so sure if this e4 is such a strong idea anymore, but maybe it is. Maybe it is, Keti, and that's why she's thinking there. Not such an obvious move as I said, after all, right, to say 4. Maybe the idea also to allow it and indeed focus on the e4, e5 idea.
Yeah, that's one option for sure. a4 is something that you stop Black's idea, and that's if nothing else works, then a4 is always there to avoid b5.
But also a4 has some ideas, right? Because now this pawn on a3 no longer is under attack. Mm-hmm. And after c takes, you can recapture the bishop. So it's not super obvious also for Goryachkina, because she has to make up a choice here. Maybe that's what she's choosing from, to go for a positional grind at a queen side for some sort of attacking ideas in the center, which would expose this king side idea, king side attack with something like queen e2, queen e4, queen g4.
Right. Rookie has very interesting question in the chat. Doesn't e4, e5 kills your dark square bishop? That's indeed a very, very good question, right? You are putting e5 and d4 pawns on the dark squares, and you have your bishop on b2. But the fact that the king side attack is so strong here for white with the bishop d3, queen e4, and you are pressing h7 pawn. Artur, very often Black cannot hold this pawn on h7, right?
Yeah, maybe let's just put it on the board. Again, not very accurate, but let's just show the point. Let's say queen e4, g6. Perhaps it's nothing, perhaps. But when you start to have a look at this position, you see ideas like h4, h5, right? There's some sacrifice on g6. You see ideas like knight e4, knight f6. And something might happen there as well. Well, obviously, this bishop on d4 is not ideal. It belongs on this diagonal, something to do on h6. Also, the white pawn on a3 is under attack, so maybe white needs to invest some time for b4 before. And again, toy with the ideas to sort of go for the attack or play the positional game. I mean, it's still early to tell, and that's why, of course, Goryachkina feels that this is such a tricky moment that she needs to make a decision. She did. She took on c5.
She took on c5, which is actually a very smart idea. It's a very smart idea, because now how you're going to recapture this pawn back? We're not considering pawn takes because it ruins the pawn structure. Black can take it with a knight and with the bishop, right? If you take with a knight, Artur, white plays queen e2 and rook d1 is the next move, and that's actually what I wanted to have. This rook on d1.
You need to watch out for b5. So if you play queen e2, there's b5.
Point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and b4 actually loses anyway after knight d4.
Yeah, b4, knight a4, good point. Now these two pieces are under attack. I think she's going to capture with a knight, because bishop looks a bit strange, because now after b4, bishop d6. Okay, maybe the idea is to play queen e7. But if the bishop goes back, in general, I advise to avoid these moves. Like, you go there, and after a move, you go back. Essentially, you wasted 2 tempos. But after d takes on c5, knight c5 makes sense, because after b4, you don't have to go back. You could go to e4. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, e4 is indeed a very important square here for Black, because if you get the knight on e4, then this diagonal is kind of closed, and you don't have worries to have on the king side. So what is her idea after knight to c5? I thought there was no queen e2, rook to d1, but this b5 is something that I completely missed.
Can I even do something interesting here, Keti? I was thinking, can I do b5? I'm not sure I understand. Why should I do this? Maybe there's some very smart other moves, because if I push your bishop back on e2, now you don't have the idea for queen e2 anymore. And maybe this is tricky. You first push this bishop, because if I would take immediately after d takes knight c5, now white has to move, and there could be b4. I guess b4. Let's start with this. Like b4, knight e4, queen e2, and then white, I guess, is still pressing. Look at this queen, still having some issues to have a good place right under the sun. So maybe that's what Danjanki is thinking here. Maybe I should push it first here, and then take on c5. But here's the trick. It doesn't end here, because you need to calculate these potential sacrifices or e6 or b5, and then calculate what happens after c6.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, white has at least 3 very nice looking moves.
But it loses, right?
Yeah, I think it works.
Does it? Because now I lose a piece, unless c6 is going to be very strong. Take c6. Now there's no fork.
Yeah, knight b6, c7.
And some sort of queen c8. I mean, it was looking like an idea. But knight c5 is on the board already. It's not played. It's not played by Danjanki. She decided to go the simple way, but I'm not convinced. Actually, it was not an idea. Maybe there's some intermezzo moves. If we start going the intermezzo move route, here we go. I can do the same, right? Yeah. I can do exactly the same. So you can do this to me. I can do this to you. Bishop bishop e6. Now again, his bishop takes on f3. So I guess bishop d3. Now this bishop is under attack, and black, I guess, did not achieve what she wanted. And maybe this was the reason, actually, the move c6, why she dropped the idea. Otherwise, it was quite nice.
Yeah, it looks indeed very, very tempting. So knight took on c5, and she doesn't want to think too much and complicate the position. I think she wants to get some time advantage on the clock. And also, Artur, one of her interviews, Danjanki said in Rapids that she was not investing too much of the time in the opening and not trying to get some advantage, because in the end of the day, Rapid is about time. So she wanted to get more and more time on the clock. So today she's also having quite a bit advantage already at this point after move 13. So she doesn't want to overthink here and goes knight to c5, which looks quite nice move. And now the question is how white is continuing. Before something else, I don't know, there is no queen e2. a4 now looks really odd.
No, now a4 is odd. I definitely agree. I think if you already take on c5, you have to be ready to play b4 next. Maybe Goryachkina is going to play something like b4.
But I just saw after b4, there's not knight d3 idea.
Oh, wait. And if I take, and I give you a very nasty attack on the 7th?
Bishop takes on f3.
And black should be still worse. Because I have very
probably
strong...
because of the... Oh, no, not really. I take the queen and knight d5. I think I'm on time.
No, you're not. Unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint you, Keti. No, I don't think so. So take it through key 7. But visually, I have a feeling that this is looking really good for white, right? You have very good pieces. The bishop is a bit passive. These pawns are targets. Think about knight e4, knight c6 again. Very nice square for the knight.
Yeah, this is a very good example why you should calculate very accurate moves. Like, it seems so right, so good for black. Your knight d3, then you see this rook c7, okay, but I have this bishop f3. And if you don't calculate very accurate, you can just lose positions like that. And then you don't understand what was wrong.
Wait.
Right?
I was looking at some crazy lines here, Keti. Can I please continue this line?
Sure.
Can I play? I have a very funny idea here.
You want to trap the rook, I guess, on the center.
This is the work.
Bishop f6.
And g takes. I don't see why it should work. It's odd, right?
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Just take it.
I see no ideas here how white can keep the rook alive. Rook b6, okay, but black is definitely calling the shots. Okay, it wasn't played, of course. Maybe that's the reason why black is actually fine. But let's say b4, knight d3, takes. And rook c7 has got to be the critical move. Otherwise, white can be simply worse. Bishop d8. Look at that.
Wow, that's nice. This is really nice.
But there could be some intermezzo moves, you know? There could be something like, I don't know, knight e5. I can't calculate it so quickly. Knight e5, attacking the queen, queen d5, e4. There you go, calculate it. Knight e4, rook d7. Good luck.
Ah,
I don't know. Maybe it's not even working. So maybe it's not very practical to look at this. So,
queen a2.
oh my goodness, here we go. I guess, oh wait, what? If I take, everything is sort of holding.
If you take b7, I take b2. You take e4, I take e5. It's so symmetrical.
Okay, I can complicate the matters even further. You know, these are the lines that I always pray not to enter myself, because I don't like such unclarity, and maybe also for Goryachkina, the scale was too high. She saw like, oh, okay, b4, knight takes, okay, what is this, right? I mean, why don't I want to go there? Do I have to really play b4? And the answer is no, she doesn't have to. Knight e5 is on the board.
Knight e5?
Yep. It stops knight e3 at least. And it fights for the c6 square. Look at that. And this other knight is going to f3.
Hold on. What happens after b5, Artur, here? Like, it's now black's
Bishop e2?
terms.
Yeah, but I agree. This queen on e2, now the queen on d1 is not looking really great, which...
Yeah, white queen became as bad as black's queen, so can we just...
Now just some smart move, right? Like...
it feels should be something here.
Yeah, but also black has issues to position the queen, because queen b6 is bishop d4. Where do you put it? I mean, b4 is very annoying, and b4 runs into knight c4. I mean, you look at this, it's like, yuck. I don't want to go here. I'm losing so many tempi here. Either a takes on b4 is a threat. So perhaps it's actually not very obvious. So bishop e2. And white's threat is b4, knight c6. Maybe get to bishop advantage. Perhaps it's a brilliant idea. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. So once again, knight e5. Do you play even b5? Maybe just resort to something more positional like rook c8. You know, it can't be a mistake.
Okay, can be this move, yeah. To keep
And now
this threat on the board, yeah? B5 threat.
Yeah, now I play here. What do you do?
Knight e4, I see.
Knight e4, I take. Look at the pawn on a6. Now it's under attack. You can't take with the bishop. You take. And watch out for these ideas. You know, I don't know. Could be something there. There could be something there. Double attack.
Yeah.
Actually, it reminds me of one game. How do I know knight e7 variation? I played once a game against David Howell many, many years ago. He outplayed me with white in a very symmetrical position, exactly like this.
Oh, you have quite a history with David Howell.
Yeah, me and David, yeah. I want to say we go back a long way, but we don't. We have only played a couple of games. But for some reason, if I have to remember some games, it's always David. But yeah, he won a very nice game. Something like 10 years ago. I don't even remember the line. Some Queen's Indian, whatever. But I like this idea. So again, if you play b5, bishop e2, how do you stop b4, white's idea?
Yeah, knight is... can we do something like b5 first? So if you play b4, I always have knight a4. I hate these moves for white. Like, for instance, now waiting move, rook c8 probably. And if you play b4, then I go knight a4.
That is a very logical move, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going also to c3 square.
And now I'm going to play bishop d4 and make a haha about your knight on a4. Because it's half a knight, really. It's not doing much there, right? Again, what's it doing there?
Yeah, okay. How about knight d7 now? I want to play knight d7, bishop f6, and slowly just trade the pieces. And Artur, if the dark square bishop goes off the board, I will have perfect square for the knight on c3.
So your idea is go to c3. Sure. Well, we might get our answer pretty quick because b5 is on the board. So here, I think bishop e2 should be played because b4 doesn't make any sense. I think white just drops a piece. Bishop e2 should be responded very quickly. And I guess rook c8, because again, the order of the moves is very important, because if she would start rook c8, then after b4, Knight e4, there's some issues again with this pawn, right? And Tanjanki protects this pawn on a6 so that she can recapture the bishop. Not necessarily, maybe it has to do with knight a4 idea. The pawn on a6 is secure.
Right. In these kind of positions, the pawn structure, which looks very symmetrical, 2 pawns on the queen side, 4 pawns on the king side, the one who starts to play very aggressive moves and gets more space advantage gets better position for the pieces. And I kind of have a feeling that white passed that moment here, and black is the one who pushed the pawn on b5. And if I don't have alternative move b4, for white because of knight a4, then things are getting a little bit shaky here for white, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. But Keti, I'm looking at this position and I can't really accept or even suspect that black would be in any trouble here. I mean, none. Black has done perfectly in the opening. At least visually look at the position. So black has healthy development, a good strong bishop on b7. The pawn on b5 has pushed back white's pieces. The white queen on d1 is odd, right? So it's got to be b4 next, most likely. Otherwise, the white queen on d1 now is going to suffer the same issue that black was suffering a couple of moves ago. Again, right after the opening, we're discussing this right here. The queen on d8 doesn't have a lot of good squares, and white queen has on e2. And now, after a couple of moves, things have changed, right? Now it's the white queen, which cannot really go to c2 because there's going to be some discovered attack from the knight on c5, and the black queen can go wherever she wants.
True. Yeah. Very interesting turns of the event. Here with white pieces, Goryachkina decided to give up the control over the center. She could not take the pawn on c5, right, Arturs? She could play a4 to stop this b5 happening. She could just allow b5 to happen and keep the center on the board, not to let black's pieces to be so active. But that's her choice, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe she. When white went to this line, she kind of missed some of these tricky tactics that we had earlier on the board.
I don't know, to be honest. But Keti, I'm just looking at how the match is ongoing so far, and I'm incredibly impressed by the opening prep of Tan. She's really preparing well, and she's choosing her battles carefully. Again, this Queen's Gambit decline, whatever you call it, 3 knights, or the delayed Janovsky in the previous game of black. She got no problems. She even managed to play for the victory with the black color. Now again, after the opening, look at the clock. She has developed all of the pieces, 1 hour, 22 minutes on the clock, 20-minute advantage, and by the looks, no problems. She's so well prepared, and Goryachkina's choice here was to go for some minor positional pressure, but at the moment, I don't even see where it is. So it's got to be something b4. But Keti, with b4, you always can consider knight e4 as well.
Yeah, absolutely, to bring this knight in the center. Knight a4 is just, I think, one of the options, but knight e4 looks even more tempting to keep this knight in the center. Look for some trades here. Why not? Why not to go for that? Knight takes,
it makes sense.
Bishop takes.
Yeah. Takes, bishop takes, I guess knight takes is a bit scary due to these 90. Although, again, you have to calculate it. 97, rook c1, right? And yeah, you're losing with white because knight c3 now kills the game. You can't do this.
True.
Right. So I guess maybe just black plays knight e4 and is totally, in control of this game. No problem. So I would say it's complete equality. I don't see how white can create any problems. You would have to go back, see wherever Goryachkina could have chosen perhaps a more ambitious choice. Maybe indeed it was a4. Maybe it was this choice, Keti, that we discussed, this b3 move, which perhaps was a little bit slow. Well, after the game, everybody's smart, I guess.
And we're also smart during the game.
No, we're definitely smart.
We have this magic that we can take the pieces back, and also just when blunder happens, just to like, oh,
Right.
and move on. But players cannot do that. And that's the problem. That's the problem. But also to be fair, when you play this position by yourself, you are for sure calculating way more than two commentators together because you're very much focused and you see very, very little details in that too. And what I really like is that to have this opportunity to hear from the players after the game. So we can definitely see how they were feeling when they were playing these positions. And I am always looking forward to see the interviews, Artur, to hear like, okay, let's see if our emotions and their emotions were matching, if they were really thinking the same way, and always watching that interviews too, guys. On our YouTube and on our Twitch channel, go ahead and look for FIDE account on YouTube, and you can see tons of the interviews of the chess players, and you can also search for some nice videos and to hear from the players. Well, Artur, Goryachkina is taking a lot of time here in this position and also in the game. That's kind of a red flag for me in the game.
Right. So maybe just remind everybody the match situation, what are the regulations, what is the tournament system, so in case you just joined us. So this is, again, Pool B of Women Candidates Tournament. Why it's a bit confusing? Okay, because this time, of certain reasons, FIDE decided to organize the FIDE Women Candidates Tournament in two pools, Pool A and Pool B. Pool A was held early October, November in Monaco, which was won by Lei Ting-ji. Now, she is the finalist of the Women Candidates Tournament, and Pool B is another 4 players, and they're fighting out in Uzbekistan, the ancient city of Khiva, to determine the challenger who is going to play against Lei Ting-ji. So essentially, whoever wins this match, so at the moment it's tied, 1 each, third game, 4 classical games, then there's going to be tiebreaks if necessary. The winner of this match wins the right to face Lei Ting-ji in the final match of the women candidates, which is going to be held, I guess, early next year somewhere. And then the winner of this final match will challenge the reigning world champion Yuvan Yun.
That's right. So first of all, we need to know who is the second finalist in the finals of the candidates tournament, because then it's going to be another tournament just a step before the final of the world championship. And it really depends which of these 2 players going to win this mini match. If Tan Zhongyi wins, then it makes more sense to hold the tournament in China. If Goryachkina wins, then we had the history of the tournament being divided in 2 parts and to be in 2 countries. So yeah, this is just a speculation. We don't know really what is happening. But what for sure, Artur, we know is the prize fund. And this is first time when women tournament, the cycle of the world championship match has this much of the funds, which is for sure amazing.
Right. So the total prize fund of the FIDE Women Candidates Tournament is $250,000. And we have one of the greatest supporters so far is Motiva, right? Because Motiva is a brand of the Establishment Labs, and they have become partners of FIDE.
That's right.
So, who are they? In case you don't know, they're a global medical technology company, and FIDE has made a landmark partnership agreement with the sole purpose to promote women's chess, right? And so far, Establishment Labs and its Motiva brand, they are sponsoring FIDE Women's World Team Chess Championship, the FIDE Women's Candidates Tournament, like this one, Pool B, also the Women's World Rapid and Blitz Championship, and of course the big event, the biggest event of women chess, the World Championship match.
That's right. So a lot of events ahead of us, and indeed, we are happy to see more and more sponsors in chess world, obviously, and more specifically in women's tournaments, because women's tournaments are mostly suffering to have not enough budget. And guys, this is a great job that they are doing, and hours of the work, and there are coaches, there are seconds working for these events, and there were a lot of training camps before this tournament. So we see now only chess players and their moves, but we don't really know what is behind the scenes and how much of the energy and the finances are already invested for these two players.
Absolutely. And we have another move on the board, bishop d4. We didn't really consider this. I'm not sure what essentially changes if black plays knight e4. Are we going to see a rather quick game? Could be. I mean, could be after bishop d4, there could be mass trades on e4, but I don't think that Goryachkina is going to allow this to happen so easily, because this is her final chance to play for the victory with white color. And by no means, I don't think she's a favorite in the tiebreaks, because she saw what happened in the tiebreaks of Katerina Lagno against Anjanki. Again, remember the viewers, right? Katerina Lagno was supposed to be the, on paper, big favorite. She was she is still, of course, 3 times World Blitz champion, former World Rapid champion, and it was all about Anjanki who was calling the shots in the tiebreak.
Oh, yeah, I agree, guys. It was indeed amazing days. If you missed those 2 days, and if you were busy, make sure that you watched it on YouTube. It's recorded, it's out there on the FIDE channel, so you can go ahead. It was a really short day, full with the emotions. There's a lot of interesting games indeed, but I really hope personally that we're gonna go to another tiebreaks, because I love tiebreaks, Artur.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we are going to see them. I guess still too early, but since now the score is leveled 1-1, 2 draws, the players are a bit careful. They're playing symmetrical positions here. This game 3, at the moment, it looks like it's heading somewhere to a drawish direction. And then in game 4, again, we are going to get something very symmetrical, unless this game will be finishing with a decisive result for one of the players. Then we have some chances for the tiebreak as well.
That's right. Well, the question is very interesting here in the Twitch chat, and guys, as we're now receiving moves a bit slow, feel free to ask some of the questions on our YouTube and Twitch chat. We are reading your comments. So here's a question. If I was asked for one word to describe Tan's current playing style, it would be, that's the question. It's an open question, and I would go first, Artur, then I would invite you to also describe with one word, but I can say that she's playing very classy, let's say, like very...
So your
very
word
solid.
Is classy.
Yes, classy is my word.
My word is solid.
Okay, I like that.
Solid is the first one which comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, so in case the viewers, you have some other suggestions how you would describe Tan's play, maybe you also have interesting way to describe Goryachkina's play, don't hesitate to do it. We have some time here. Knight e7 is played on the board to liquidate the game into something equalish. The bishop on e7 now is attacking the pawn on a3. Yeah, so it makes sense. Maybe the knight on c5 wasn't really doing much. Also with knight e4, you never really know. I guess you don't want to close the bishop on b7. And now if I was with white, I would be looking for bishop f3 at some point to think about this weakness on c6. But I'm not sure if that's actually going to work, because the pawn on a3 is under attack.
I agree with that. We had Alexandra Goryachkina looking on this side, checking for this score sheet. She has now 1 minute on the clock, and maybe she was just checking how many moves still until the increment. So this is 16 moves, way too many moves, right?
Okay. Can I do this? Sorry that I interrupted you. I mean, I was just looking at this.
I wanted to ask if we're going to have here the time pressure for white, but now I see that you are trying to get some advantage.
I'm trying. I mean, otherwise it's just trade everything, right? So I'm trying to get this weakness on c6. So if not here, then when?
Okay, let's analyze this. Bishop takes f3.
You're going to take it, right?
Yes.
Because there's also a bishop takes on a3, which I'm not very sure. But okay, I mean, let's start with this. Take it. Now my big point is I want to get to this square. So that being said, it's either queen f3 or knight f3. Let's say queen f3. Now knight c6 is something. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
Okay, now I will go...
I'll wait and drop a piece, yeah? Sorry.
Yeah, knight
I'm bad. Okay, not queen f3, knight f3. My apologies.
Okay, now I don't trust you. I'm just looking if there's any other pieces hanging. Artur, I would probably go with bishop a3 now. And after knight to 6, my queen is hanging. However, I have two ideas. I can play queen e8 and then move my knight away.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can play queen to c7 to pin the... Oh, no. That's a trick.
Yes, I mean, that's what I want. I want to win your queen. Anyway, I don't think we are going to see that because pieces are starting to find a way to disappear from the board after knight c to d7. I think I saw rook c8, queen c8 being played. We just don't have them yet. So there's some lag behind the moves. I guess rook c8 should appear on the board very quickly because we see that on the camera. There you go. So, are we going to see a quick draw here, Keti?
That's what I would suggest here by saying Alexandra's, body language and so checking the moves, how many moves they have played. I think white should be really okay to make a draw here.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there's another question, by the way. While Goryachkina is choosing her continuation from the YouTube chat, thank you for the nice words, of course, wishes. There's a question. Do we think the players prefer classical or tiebreaks?
Sorry, what?
The question is, do you think the players prefer classical games or the tiebreaks?
I think they would rather prefer classical chess because tiebreaks is a little bit more like play of the nerves. So you might...
Or how lucky you are that day, right? I mean, you never know. You never know how it's going to go. You never know. It's like you're tossing a coin. Of course, there's a lot of skill, but it depends how you're feeling in that day. What are your reaction to what's happening on the board? So perhaps Goryachkina is already thinking about it because now, after the opening, she doesn't have anything. I mean, there's no weaknesses, no nothing. So maybe it was the slow-mo b3. Maybe knight e5 was not the most accurate. And by the way, dear viewers, we're not using engines so that in case you're wondering, we don't have them. We don't have them here. So we don't know what the bar is saying, what the engine is saying, 0.05, whatever for white, advantage right. So we don't see that. We're looking at the position, and why we are doing this, we try to imagine how the players feel themselves, because Keti is a woman grandmaster, I'm a grandmaster myself. So I think we are more or less qualified to figure out what they might be thinking about. But by the looks, I think black is super, super solid here.
Yes, it's at this point when there's not much of the tactics here, we can guess what can be the evaluation here, right? I would say that if engine gives any edge, it would be for sure black, as black have solved all the problems here. Black's pieces are very more dangerous. There's some things that is hanging right now, and white has to take care of that. So if someone tells me that the engine says here white has advantage, I would really, really question that. So at this point, with these kind of positions, we don't really rely on any kind of engines, right?
I think actually here black has some chances to cover the game, no? Because I look at white's piece placement, it's not ideal. Mm-hmm. The queen on d1 still doesn't do much. The knight on d2 is a bit passive. While for black, every single piece is looking really well positioned. And there's another move by Goryachkina. What did she do? She took I think, on d7.
Knight
All right.
on d7. Yeah, that's happened. So
okay, so she's not hiding her intention here. I think after queen d7, she knows that she actually needs to be a bit careful here, because after queen d7, look at these bishops, wonderful bishops here. The rook is going to go out, rook c8, the pawn on a3 is under attack. And even if white does something like, let's say, oh wait, I can liquidate this into, can I? Okay, let's say b4. Now look at this position. Even by visually looking at the position, you can establish that black should be slightly better. Why? Because black is up a tempo, or 2 tempos, right? So white doesn't have the knight on f3 to have a completely symmetrical position. And black can already play rook c8 or rook d8. And the pawn on a3 is under attack, so I guess she has to do this, unless she would love to liquidate this with bishop takes f6. Maybe this is a draw offer with knight e4. Is this a draw offer? That's what I'm wondering here.
Okay, so if you take the queen, I have this intermediate knight f6 move, right?
Yeah, and then I guess everything disappears from the board, like bishop d5, rook c8, or maybe black is still actually pushing here. But that's the thing. I'm not sure if that's forced, because after g takes on f6, there's no knight e4 anymore. But maybe white still is happy to go for this position. But I'm not sure if this is such an obvious choice, because the bishop on e7 could become a monster controlling all the dark squares. And the pawn on a3 is still under attack. So I don't think this liquidation into a draw works immediately for white.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is that black's pieces were so active, she had to trade some of them, and that might be the reason for that. Maybe she will go here a bit slow and just play b4 with ideas knight to b3, knight c5, some stuff like that, or maybe bishop f3 to eliminate this bishop. Because I kind of like this bishop on d4. It stops actions on d file.
Not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure, because I think now black is simply better after rook d8. Not much, but better. There's e5 threat.
Right.
And after knight f3, we have a symmetrical position, and black has simply put the rook on d8 while white has not. So white is simply like 1.5 tempos behind. And despite the fact the position is symmetrical, I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling that Alexandra is sleepy today. Something is off a little.
Oh, she's not alone in that.
Yeah, but I mean, look at...
might also be a bit sleepy.
No, I mean, fine.
For them, it's 3. The game starts at 3 p.m. So, you know, Artur, why you had that feeling that she was a bit sleepy. She had very tough games, 2 games. She was the one who was defending, and she got exhausted. I have this feeling.
Something is going wrong in this game. I don't know. Goryachkina probably is thinking, I wanted to get a minor advantage to press after the opening. There's no advantage anymore. Actually, the more I look at this position, it looks a bit unpleasant, slightly worse. And in normal tournament situations, you could just offer a draw, right? Just offer a draw over there. But you can't do that, because there's a regulation that you can't offer a draw before move 40 unless there's a repetition of the moves. Perhaps, of course, I'm wrong. I mean, probably I'm wrong, or she's still very ambitious, because she said after the game on an interview, Keti, that she had no concerns about her position being so bad, and maybe she's just doing all right here. But I look at this position, I don't like really how she has played out.
No, I don't like this position for her. I don't like the position she had in the first game. It's a battle of the... psychological points too, and for me it was kind of thing that she didn't admit it, that she was worse in the position because of that reason. It's a match still going on, and you don't necessarily need to be honest and say like, oh yeah, I was losing and finally I was lucky. You don't say that. So for me, there was just the thing that she was just keeping cool in the match and not admitting that she was the defensive side. Okay,
What did she
we
play?
have a move. We have a move in the game, and that's
I think it was A4 by the looks. No, B4.
4. All right.
All right.
What
Now
is
I can play rook c8 with black. So in a very symmetrical position, black's queen is better, the rook is better. So there's no argument that black should be slightly better. Maybe black can already think about some way to liquidate the pawns at the queen side, like a5. Maybe not immediately, but maybe even immediately, like a5, trade every single pawn, and perhaps b4 is like a silent draw offer, right? I mean, I don't mind that you trade those pawns. So we call today, something like a5, maybe it's not even working. B takes, bishop takes, a3, there's queen b3.
Yeah, attacking
Okay,
d5
that's...
and bishop. How about rook to d8? That was your suggestion, right? Rook to d8 brings a lot of ideas on the board, like e5. And if you go bishop c3 to guard the knight, on d2, the knight is queen to c6. Can we actually show that? Because it's a little trickier. Pawn on g2 is hanging, bishop is hanging, and you're kind of losing.
Yeah, it's not very good, of course. White loses a piece for no good reason. And e5, yeah. And if I play something like knight f3.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that white is in danger, but it looks a bit annoying, maybe at a psychological level, because she's the one playing with white, and now black is sort of even slightly better.
Yeah.
It can be unpleasant to deal with this. Okay, maybe not rook d8. What about more human? I mean, I'm not saying that rook d8 is not human. What about more aggressive move like rook c8, taking over the c file? Think about knight e5, knight c3 here.
But how I would react with knight b3, knight c5 ideas?
Okay. I don't know. Okay, knight c5 is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe that's the idea, right? So play knight b3, knight c5.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine if the knight gets on c5 or bishop gets on c5. This is a completely different game we have now.
All right, tough to tell, to be honest.
And by rook to d8, you kind of stop this happening. Tanshongi chooses a different approach here, and she goes knight to e4, looks for more trades.
No, that is a draw offer. So knight e4, bishop e4. Yeah, that is, again, a silent draw offer. So maybe we got it wrong. Maybe I got it wrong, that Alexander is still trying to get the game going. And of course, it wouldn't be a surprise. So what happens after knight b3? Now, knight b3 kind of loses the strength, right? Because knight c5 is twice protected by the bishop on e7 and knight on e4. You could just play rook c8, renewing the knight c3 ideas. And the big question is, can white play something like f3? Probably not. Push away this knight, renew knight c5 threat. Let's say knight c3, take it, rook c3. Of course, I see rook d7. And whatever happens here. Like bishop c6, take it, and I guess somehow it's going to liquidate into a draw. Although these pawns are under attack. So from the white's perspective, it doesn't appear that white is pressing anything here. So rook here, here, you protect everything. There's no bishop e5 threat. I mean, very quickly looking at this line, it makes sense. So after knight e4 for Goryachkina, it's going to be quite difficult to continue the game. But then again, I mean, it didn't really feel that white is in danger. It's just visually. I mean, you look visually at the position. It appears that black has no problems. Black even appears to be better developed. But Tanshongi is just maybe she could have continued the game with something else, and knight e4 simply suits her match strategy. Draw is good. Draw is fine. And we still might have game 4.
It's purely the strategical game. And also Arturs, that's her words. She was thinking of what is her strategy in one of the games. And that's how you're choosing your next moves. If your strategy is to win here, you will for sure not play knight e4. But if your strategy is to make a draw and go to the tie breaks, definitely why not to do it? And why to risk this position to get worse and then play long game? So I think we already know clearly what is Tan Zhongqi's strategy in this match.
Right. Okay, let's try to make something happen here. So knight e4, the game is going to be so dry. Sure. Unless there's some immediate shot. Probably not. Then we can assume there's a fair chance it's finishing a draw. Let's try to spice things up. How do we avoid it? So once again, knight b3, rook c8. Is this a playable line?
And then we go... this is against knight c5, right? If I play knight c5...
No, not only knight c5, it's also knight c3 idea. I have my ideas as well.
Can I just... let's see just this line. I have queen a1, I have bishop f3, I have knight to c5. Let's start with knight to c5 to understand what happens after trades.
And you take with the bishop.
I take with the bishop. If you play queen c6, I have bishop f3. If you trade, I might be just fine here. You can take on c5. I have back rank checkmate. If you avoid this checkmate, I will play rook to d7, activate my rook, and hoping that this is not so bad.
Okay, but knight e4 Keti is on the board.
Yeah, okay. This pretty much concludes the game, and they will probably play another 20 moves here or just repeat the position. But
okay, so perhaps her idea is that okay, there's nothing to be done. Bishop e4, knight e4, bishop e4, maybe queen a1. Using your idea that you said, bring the queen on the long diagonal, then bring the queen on the board. But again, the position is incredibly symmetrical. 2 pawns each. 4 pawns each at the king side, 2 bishops, no weaknesses. So normal outcome is a draw. But of course, I mean, everything still can happen because it might take one mistake or underestimation of how this is an equalish or drawish position, and then you get in trouble because you think you can't play symmetrical positions for the win. No, I mean, of course you can. Which rings me a bell, Keti. Once I won a game, a rook in game, at grandmaster level, 2 pawns each, 4 pawns each at the king side.
Yeah?
Yeah, rooks each.
Wow.
Completely symmetrical.
Wow. How you did that?
I don't know, somehow, slowly. Yeah, slowly. Because the opponent was playing too much for the draw, and draw was not suiting my tournament situation. And I had to fight on, and I managed to win actually a fine game. So, despite the fact that it is drawish, it is incredibly symmetrical, Goryachkina is probably going to continue.
She went queen to a1 now, attacking the pawn on g7, and looks for some weaknesses on the king side. Like if you play g6, this bishop will control more squares. If you play f6, that's probably the move that black should play now with idea e5 next. I wonder what is her reaction after that. Probably rook to d1 to go against e5 idea.
That makes sense. So I could play something like queen b7 to secure my queenside pawns, go after this pawn here. So I guess what?
f3, once again, very symmetrical position.
And now for the pure perfection, black needs to play rook a8. Oh, wait, sorry, not rook a8, rook d8. My apologies. Yeah, rook d8.
Too far, yeah.
Yeah, it's complete perfection of the position. It's so symmetrical. I mean, oh, wait, sorry. Queen b to rook d8. There you go. It doesn't get more symmetrical than this.
Right. Beautiful.
So everything is symmetrical. Everything, absolutely everything. So we might be heading somewhere there. So f6 is played very quickly, and look at this confidence that Tan Zhongqi is showing. She's playing very fast. 1 hour and 70 minutes on the clock, and I think this is also done for a reason. It's not only to save time, but it's also to apply pressure. Because when you're low on the clock, being behind so much on the clock, it might affect your decision making. Should I go for a draw or not? So, I mean, if I'm playing with black and I want to make a draw, it helps me to have more time on the clock because this affects the opponent as well. I mean, not always, but
yeah,
it does affect.
It does. Rook to d1 is now on the board. The threat is bishop f6. And it's also against e5. So now Tanzhangi should either move the queen from d file or cover it with the bishop, which might not be the greatest idea to play here. Bishop d6 will be bishop c5. Bishop d5 will be e4. So queen b7 is the move. I would expect here to see, because if not this move, if you don't play also with it, attack and active moves, which we have on the board, if you go queen c7, you might see some rook c1 controlling c5, then bishop c5, and so on and so on. So queen to b7.
Yeah, here you would give up the c5 for no good reason, right? So queen c3, they're of course still incredibly drawish, but queen b7 makes perfect sense. So f3 should be played because bishop f1, the bishop is excluded from the game, and I don't see how you're going to activate it. So Goryachkina is not going to do that. Out of spite, she's not going to play g3 because this would create this long diagonal, unnecessary adventure. So f3 is necessary to contain black's last point bishop.
That's right. And after f3, black has to make a decision where to bring this bishop on d5 or on c6. So d5 is something that you are looking for e4, and it's kind of provocative move. We're going to see that what will be Tanzhangi's idea. If she goes on g6, Artur, tell me, it seems that the bishop should not belong to that diagonal. And like after f3, bishop g6, white can just play something like e4 to lock this bishop out there. Not a big deal. Black can also play e5 and bishop f7 at some point. But when we have a symmetrical position, everything might matter, like queen to c3, bishop c5 kind of ideas, or rook c1, queen c3 to go after c6 square with these pieces.
Yeah, so the only thing one of the players can try to get something is activating the rook and one of the open files. For example, let's say we would have this position, something goes terribly wrong for black, let's say whatever, king f7, here, and let's say rook a8. Now, this is some sort of a progress for white, right? So the rook on c6 is very active, the rook on a8 is very passive, and then, maybe white would have some chances to play this for the win. But of course, I don't think none of the players with so much time on the clock, they're going to love it. But you never know. Mistakes still can be made. Bishop g6 or bishop c6. Now that is the choice. Actually, Keti, I like bishop g6 because I think this pawn is going to go to e5 anyway. Mm-hmm. Okay. Otherwise, if you play bishop c6, maybe the bishop here on c6 is slightly misplaced. For example, something like queen a2 check, right? Okay. King h8 and here. And look at these bishops. They're a bit better. There's queen e6, threatening, I'm not sure what, but it's...
not much, but it looks
but it's there. It's a nice square on e6, right? Why not use it?
Well, it limits black's pieces. Let's put it in that way.
Yeah. I mean, you want me to continue this line?
The thing is that Artur, for instance, like after queen e6, if white managed to play bishop d1, bishop b3, and gets this bishop on this diagonal, black will have problems on the back rank. All right. She goes bishop d5, and she's provoking e4. That's interesting. That is indeed interesting. So what is her idea? Is she going to play bishop b3 to attack the rook?
No, bishop c4. I think that's the idea. e4, bishop c4. A bit aggressive. But maybe it's also part of the mind games to wrap up this game rather quick, because do you really want to continue? Let's do this. I don't mind.
Let's take it.
Take.
And rook to c1.
Rook c8.
Queen a2.
Some sort of queen c6 or b5, a5 next.
So you say, like, I have a weakness on c4, but can you call that a weakness? Because I'm guarding that perfectly well.
That is a very good question. What is this? Is this pawn on c4 a weakness, or is it a strength? With so little pieces?
Arturs?
If you can play king h1, I can play king h8 as well. But okay, let me try.
Okay. Trick you.
Okay, there's a trick. There's a trick.
Bishop c5 was my and king h8 even helps us to do that.
But it doesn't work. C4. It does work. There
queen,
could
queen
be
c4.
What?
Queen.
No. Queen c4.
No, it's not working. Because you take queen c4, rook c4, and rook to d8.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show, this back rank issue. But I don't see this happening. Again, e4, bishop c4, takes. What was it? Rook c1? There should be like many ways how black can continue. What about even e5 immediately?
Yeah.
I push away your bishop. Because bishop c5 is going to be mass trades. There you go. You trade, you win back this pawn, you win this pawn. Actually, white loses the pawn on c5 for a check. So
yeah, that's
so it's not even a draw. Yeah, it's not even a draw. So white cannot do that. Yeah. So rook c1, e5. Let's say whatever bishop wherever it goes. Bishop e3, rook c8. I go here. Queen b5. Bishop c5 is with a check. Let's say again your king h1 with some tricks of bishop c5, which are still not even not threatening because of this back rank issue. And most likely black can already play safely a5. Oh wait, I can snatch the pawn. Yeah, I blundered. This idea.
Oh no!
I thought it's a mate. Yeah.
C5 and rook takes c5. The thing is, Artur, that black can just wait for a beat and play h6 first, king h7, to make sure that the king has no problems on the back rank, and then to play c3 even. Why not go for that?
Recently, I was playing in Bundesliga, and I played one game with black color against Orientari. We had a very interesting game. And I made this mistake from the black's perspective, playing a bit slow, h6. Now, after the game, we were approached by Petala Harikrishna, one of the strongest Indian grandmasters, obviously. He said, Arturs, why are you playing like this? Why are you playing so slowly? It always should be h5. It should be always should be h5. It shouldn't be h6, because in these positions, you are not only making the window for the king, but you're also thinking about the endgame. Well, I had no arguments really there, so... And he was right. Of course. So h5, the same idea, not putting too many pawns on the color of your bishop, but it's such a little minor detail that it doesn't even matter. But funny that I remember that.
Yeah, our chat is asking the current position, please. Guys, we can't have current position for 20 minutes on the board. We have to analyze some of the games. And that's why you have the second screen on the video, which is the current position. And you can just... pay attention to that side of the board if you want to see the current position and also current clock, which goes down for Goryachkina. But this is not a position that we should be worried here with any of the colors, that I have low time on the clock, and the position is not so bad. Actually, she can just hold it.
Right, and there's a very interesting mention in the YouTube chat that Goryachkina needs to get through Chinese number 4. But it's actually quite a moment here, because for Goryachkina to become a world champion, she has to overcome an obstacle of 3 Chinese strongest players. Hu Yifan is not playing, but it's Tan Zhengqi. So in order to advance to the candidates final, she has to beat Tan Zhengqi. Then in the candidates final, we have Lei Tingji, who won the pool A. And if she managed to win that, she has to win the world championship rematch against Yu Wenyun. Right? All of these players are from China. So China women chess is incredibly strong these days.
It is, and it used to be for a long time, and China has a great history of the world champions. And there was like many years that they were for sure dominating in the chess world, starting from 1991. I have now the list on the screen. I don't know that by heart, but I can read it out. That first Chinese champion was Xu Jian. She won this title and was holding for 5 years. Then she once again won against Susan Polgar. And then was another Chinese champion, Zhu Qian, who won this title in 2001 and was holding for 3 years. And then was Xu Yuhua, another Chinese champion. Then was Hou Yufan. You guys are very much familiar to that name. She was holding this title and then won the match against Anna Oshanina. And again, she won the match against Maria Muzichuk. Then we have Tan Zhongyi and Zhu Wenjun. Guys, that's a lot of numbers.
That's what, 6? I counted 6, right?
Yeah, this is amazing how much they are dominating in the field.
Wow. Oh, that is absolutely incredible. Incredible chess culture in China. So, yeah, Tan Zhongyi also, as a former world champion, he looks for this opportunity again to be the champion. For Goryachkina, she has never been a champion, but it's a good guess that probably it's a matter of time because Hou Yufan is not participating in the World Championship cycle. Number 1 woman player in the world, and Goryachkina, guess what, is number 2.
That's right, and she has been already the challenger of the world champion. She lost the match against Zhu Wenjun, but she was very close.
All right, so what happens now? Queen b2, rook d8? Symmetrical position or something else?
Can be that. Maybe she's also considering to avoid all this kind of bishop c4 and changing of the structure, maybe rook c1, bishop c5 ideas. That's an option to play to avoid that. You can also go bishop c5 by yourself if you want some of the changes here. Bishop c5, either we make a faster draw or I will have the pawn structure that you are aiming to have with the black pieces.
But I'm not sure that Goryachkina wants to do this. Does she want to do this? Because, for example, if she enters the position either with bishop c5 or e4, bishop c4, that is changing the pawn structure dramatically. And when you enter this position, you need to determine, are you not creating problems for yourself? Because one thing which many players have definitely experienced many times before is over pushing. And Goryachkina doesn't need to over push. The match is level 1 each. She is doing fine with black. She has managed to get very good games with the black color. It just appears to be that in this candidates tournament, Keti, black is showing really good preparation, and for white it's incredibly difficult to prove something. So maybe it's just she would have to accept this as a fact. And also, since she's so low, considerably low on the clock, look at that. I mean, it's almost 45 minutes. I think it also plays a factor, might play a factor in her decision making. Because if you misplay this, if you over push this, then maybe the match already is over. Because then she would have to fight back with the black color tomorrow.
Oh, that would be horrible here for any of these players if they lose this game. Just imagine how symmetrical it is, how equal it is. It cannot be any more equal. And imagine you ruined this position. It's just mentally very, very hard to handle next game. So I don't really expect here any difficulties. I'm sure Alexandra now is finding the ways how to make the easiest draw. She's very good at that. Maybe there are a lot of maybes. E4, rook to c1, just pass the move, maybe bishop to d3. Anything is possible. We're just waiting here, her move. And meanwhile, I would like to bring a question which was on our YouTube chat earlier.
All right.
So there was a, let me find if I can find the question right away. Yeah, okay. What do you think the best way is to promote women's chess? I personally like both, but audience for women's chess is smaller. And we have kind of like conversation on YouTube going on. And this is the open question to everyone, Artur. I think if you guys have any ideas, smart ideas, feel free to write us in the comment section. And what do you think about this topic, Artur?
I'm not sure if I'm the right person to answer it.
You're doing a great job actually to promote, so I think you are.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm not really sure, but I guess it also depends from the players, how exciting they're playing. They're doing their best, and they are exciting games, so maybe there's nothing to be done from the players. I guess it depends how much you promote them.
Yeah.
So it's for FIDE, for tournament organizers, organize maybe regular tournaments for women. Not only, obviously, the World Championship titles, etc., because I think that this is what is missing for women, right? Regular women tournaments.
That's right.
And also talking about various international leagues, like I can name only a couple of leagues in Europe where they have women leagues. Okay, I apologize if I'm misinformed, right? I know for sure there's Bundesliga, there's the Women Bundesliga. I think there's in Serbia as well, but probably there's more. But it's definitely less than for men, right? So maybe it's also this responsibility falls upon to the tournament organizers, the federations, that they should be thinking how to organize specifically tournaments for women, how to organize more tournaments for girls, right? And it's a long process.
It is. It's very complex. And Jenny Morel in our YouTube chat says, bigger prices brings a bigger audience. Can't agree more. And also another thing what I can add is the attitude of everyone. And I mentioned the Artur that you're already promoting this because I have been unfortunately working with the co-commentators which were visibly be very upset of the decisions of the players and pointing out that no, you can't play like that, which is very wrong approach. And also the audience sometimes goes a little bit more critical towards the female players, and they're like, oh, so weak. And I think that's why it's more complex, besides the fact that there's like few tournaments and like really small budgets for the tournaments happening. And that's like, I have talked to many chess players at many levels who are really afraid to talk about the problems in chess for women because they're afraid to be bullied in social media. I really have had this kind of conversation with many of the girls, and you can be shocked at how high level they are, these girls. So thanks very much for bringing this topic in the chat and to worry about that there is a problem, and for sure there's a need to solve that. And yeah, for sure it should be, in my opinion, first of all, the attitude of everyone should be changed and should be more positive towards women in chess.
Right. In the meantime, in the game, we are definitely heading to a draw because pretty sure queen c3 is about to follow here. I would trade a queens and then shuffle the pieces for some time, reach move 40. I think this was the last decision by Goryachkina. Maybe a4, trade those pawns at the queen side. There's not much happening in this game. So I don't imagine that suddenly Goryachkina is going to start to play this for the win.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. But I do think that women chess is developing in general, right? There are these long-term sponsors. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how long-term they are. I'm talking about, for example, Motiva, right? Again.
Yeah, we have a number of the tournaments. Maybe that's not too much, and it's only on the high level. And obviously, you need players to reach the high level. But it's a good start, let's say so.
Yeah, it's definitely a good start. Things are developing, and also some other chess sites are organizing, online chess sites are organizing tournaments for women, right? You just, I guess, need more. You need more, right? And again, the responsibility, I guess, falls upon to the tournament organizers to organize them.
Mm-hmm.
E4, no? The game is still ongoing. I was wrong.
Still on without rooks. Now I think bishop c4 can be one option, although this allows white to pin the bishop. Probably it's not very tragical moment for black to ruin the pawn structure and take the b takes c4. But the question once again is like, why need to go there? Why don't just play bishop b7 and remain the equal position, this.
Yeah, I mean, of course, bishop b7 is also a move. But then you have some issues with the pawn on e6. I mean, so minor issues that I think they're simply non-issues. But yeah, I mean, after bishop c4, queen c3, there's some ideas, right? For example, let's say you play e5, or maybe Goryachkina wants to play this endgame. Let's say takes, here, bishop c3. And your pawns are on the color of my bishop. I bring the king towards the queen side, and then I try to organize an outside pass pawn and hope for something. But even this is looking quite
This is so slim
Joyous.
too, yeah.
So probably Tan is going to find more precise way to continue. So perhaps bishop c4 is complicating the matters too much. Could be also bishop b3, queen c2 as well. I guess we are going to see.
Yeah, I think, Artur, we have more interesting discussions in our chat than this position is itself.
Yeah, I mean, the position is not exciting. I mean, there's no denying it's not really exciting, right? But they're getting there, and you have to work with the position that you have. The same applies also for the players. Not always you have super exciting, super sharp positions, but this is part of the professional chess. So, yeah, I mean, Tan Zhongyi is well prepared. She has managed to solve all the problems in the opening. So there's so much Goryachkina can do.
Right.
I think bishop b3 makes perfect sense here. Activate the queen and keep the bishop along the diagonal, then play e5 maybe. Perhaps Goryachkina wants to play something like e5 herself, you know? Fix this pawn there. But then again, I think black can just play f5. So what? Queen c6 and have a super control of the center. So your pawn on e5 just closes your own bishop. Yeah, she's going to do this bishop b3. It perfectly makes sense, of course.
Yep. Not changing too much. Activating the piece. If you attack my bishop with queen b2, I will play queen c2. Trade the queens. Not damaging my pawn structure. They are just carefully playing. And the move is 26. So they will just play 14 more moves. There will be no much changes. And I think the draw offer will happen, which means that tomorrow will be another fight and not necessarily things going to go this way. I think most of the people can agree after 3 games that Tan Zhongyi is not getting any problems in the opening. And very likely she will try last game to press.
Yeah, but also I think she's not in a must-win situation. It's not like she has to win with white game 4 at all costs, because the way she played in the tie breaks against Catherine Lagnon, she should be pretty happy with her performance. And also, I think her strategy, if this game indeed finished in a draw, I think she's going to try to do something. So try something, some minor advantage like in the game 2, and then see what happens. If Goryachkina solves all the problems, okay, if they're, draw, so be it.
Yeah,
I know many players treat it.
And earlier, remember when we suggested, we had a suggestion in our chat to describe Tan's play in one world, and one of our viewers said patient, which also describes quite well her style of the play. She's just patient, and game by game, she's going to the direction when she feels very confident. I would be very happy to see tie breaks between these two players, because we have not seen so far Alexandra Goryachkina's way, how she's handling the shortened time on the clock.
Right. I can't check really what her performance is in the World Rapid and Blitz Championships. Do you know such information, Keti? I didn't check it really.
No problem. I'm going to Google right now.
All right. Check it right now. Here, in the meantime, while Keti is checking things, how well Alexandra is doing in accelerated time control tournaments. the time difference is reaching already 50 minutes. 50 minutes. So this is really huge. Tan Zhongyi wants to finish this game as quickly as possible. So if the queens disappear from the board, like something like, think about queen c3, trade queen, c5, the game is super symmetrical. Queen b2, queen c2 also is the way for the queens to get traded. So I guess for Goryachkina, the only way to keep the queens is something like bishop d3. But is she really playing for the win? No. And she plays queen b2, which allows queen b2. Maybe that's the idea. I mean, I'm going to trade the queens, but again, it's part of psychological games, but it's going to be under my terms, not your terms. You want to trade the queens? Come and trade them. So again, these small psychological tricks, you know, I'm not the one who is making a draw with white. You are the one who is force me to make a draw. You never know how these tricks, psychological tricks work.
That's for sure. So far, what I can see is that Goryachkina has a lot of success in the classical portion of the chess, and I can see that she lost the match against Juvin in rapid tie breaks, but cannot really see any of her title at the World Rapid and Blitz.
Yeah, probably if indeed it's going to make it to the tie breaks, but we still, I think we're judging it a bit too early because there's still game 4. This game is done. So there's nothing happening here. So let's not hold our breath here. Let's just wait until the end of the game. This is game going to finish in a draw. Then, I'm not sure. I still think it's about equal. 50-50 really. Maybe Goryachkina is technically small ELO favorite. I don't know. But anything can happen. Anything can absolutely happen. We only have information how Tan Zhongyi was playing against Lagnon. She was very fast. She was very prepared. There you go. Queens are off the board.
Black will take on c2 eventually. And this is move 28. 28. So 11 more moves to go.
Yeah, and Tan Zhongyi's time management is to be admired. This really reminds me the speed of Nepo. I mean, at the men's chess, there's one person who plays with incredible speed pretty much any single game. That's Jan Nepomniachtchi, right? And here, Tan Zhongyi is pulling a Nepo. Playing very, very fast, very confident, not thinking too much, playing easy moves. Sometimes this can backfire. But, I mean, here, the position is rather simple. The choices were pretty obvious for her. So why spend time?
Yeah, and also when you spend too much of the time, then you're thinking about many variations and you're just going to the wrong direction. In some places when there is no need to spend that much of the time, she's keeping her energy going. And also the moves are like, we cannot really say that any of the black's move was inaccuracy. There was some plays, like only one plays in the middle of the game when I thought she would try a little bit more, but she went knight e4 to trade the pieces. But if that's her strategy, this is absolutely great move to go for it and go for the dead draw end game, which we have now on the board.
Right. There's a suggestion in the chat that AlphaZero says Weiss has advantage here. I highly doubt it.
AlphaZero should take a day off today in this game.
I don't think so. I mean, okay, maybe with some e5 space advantage, but I mean, then you activate this bishop here. The bishop goes back to d5. No, there's no advantage here.
Way.
There's no way. So, I mean, okay, maybe Goryachkina is gonna play it on. You know, she could play it unlimited, like.
But she has to do this with 20 minutes on the clock for the rest of the moves.
Yeah, but the position is not really so critical, is it? It doesn't really scream she has some time problems here. Even if Tan Zhongyi has 1 hour and 40, like almost extra 1 hour on the clock, the position is rather simple. She could play it on, despite the fact she's so behind on the clock. But the entire game just says something else, really.
That's interesting. So AlphaZero says, no, this Lila.
That's Lila, not AlphaZero. Oh, I thought LC0 is AlphaZero, no? It's Lila.
Lila 0, I think.
My apologies. I thought that's AlphaZero.
Stockfish 15 says it's a dead draw. So yeah, guys, they also have a bit of conflict of the thoughts.
We are not Stockfish, their viewers. We are saying this is a dead draw.
It is a dead draw. I agree with that.
All right. Yeah, I would take my chances against Lila here. Definitely. So, I guess we're not going to make a break, are we? I'm not sure, because this game could finish very quickly, Keti.
Yeah, it makes really...
Just wait for a while. I mean, there's not much happening, of course. She could, of course, spend 10, 15 minutes on the next move.
Oh, absolutely. She can afford to play this position even on the increment only if she has like 2 minutes and 1 minute and she plays on the increment, for sure.
Maybe the idea is play bishop c5 and try to get the king on c5. It's never going to happen, of course.
Yeah, but I will not take that. That's the problem, right? If I want to play just king f7, e5, king e6, yeah, how you really approach there?
e5. She is trying something. So thumbs up for Goryachkina for trying. She is trying. I guess f5 has to be the response, or maybe black can even... Oh, wait, just a second. Now, if I take it here and play bishop f6, I think I'm simply entering a slightly worse endgame with black, right?
With the pawns on a6 and b5, yeah, if white bishop gets...
Not a good idea, right?
Yeah, something like f4, bishop f3, bishop d7, probably.
Yeah, so... I don't think she's going to do this for black, because she plays it very fast. King f7, look at that. Very fast. And
so let's do like this. Alexander Goryachkina thinks in a way like Lila chess, and Tanjongi thinks like Stockfish 15. So
okay, so I know that Tangents like space advantage. I want to claim space. Boom. Oh wait, king f2 is already played. Whatever. What could be the next move here? Let's say bishop e3. Can I go for some space like this? I go here.
Right.
What do you do?
More space, maybe g4?
More space.
I don't know.
Now, which of the drawing options I should choose here? I'm not sure. Maybe this.
How about g5?
Oh, g5? Okay. Keti wants some blood. Okay. Okay. f5, by the way, is played on the board. Tanjongi wants to close the position. Maybe white's final chance to get the bishop here, but black always managed to play bishop e4. For example, here. Bishop here.
You know what, Arturs? I like this e5 move for white because it doesn't allow black to play e5, because if black plays e5, black controls d4, c4 square, and there's no chance that king can approach from the queen side or the center. So white keeps still the possibility of king e3, king d4, king c5 when dark square bishops are off the board. So that's very smart decision from Goryachkina.
Yeah, I love our chat today. You're full of life. True. Yeah, okay. So maybe this is the idea that Goryachkina wants, to bring bishop c5, king d4, but still I don't see a way to crack through. But there's some good news, dear viewers. Goryachkina is trying. She is trying. She is not like us, who always find an excuse to make a draw. She is a fighter. She is finding a way to continue this game. Also, by the way, black is thinking about bishop g5 here, so let's not completely rule out black's counterplay as well. So also black has some ideas. King e3.
3.
Yep. All right.
It means that after bishop g5, she is ready to play f4 otherwise, if king goes back.
This will be inaccuracy, right? Now you have some problems. Although maybe they're not problems, but let's call them problems. So after king
something,
e3,
yeah, already struggling to find a more move for
Right.
black. Black is losing a pawn, then the position repeats once again.
bishop b3, bishop d5 makes sense. I think the bishop on c2 doesn't do much. It needs to control this only diagonal where white can crash through.
G5 also makes a lot of sense to me, to control f4
G5.
square.
Oh, yeah, and try to keep the position closed. Actually, this makes perfect sense.
After f4, I can also play bishop e4, I can play g4.
And then position the bishop. Oh, not on e4, you can still blunder things after bishop g4. Okay, some minor tricks. So one of the players should be a bit careful here that I've seen these things happen to viewers when you overestimate how dead is the draw. And maybe Goryachkina's only chance is that Tanjanki is gonna rush. That's why she's playing on. She has very minor space advantage. The pawn is on e5. She's hoping for some sort of a mistake like this bishop g5 for 4. But I think Tanjanki is going to fire out the next move like in 45 seconds. Oh my goodness, it's even faster.
She's not even spending any.
No,
any
45 seconds, just 5
guys.
seconds.
1 hour and 20 minutes on the clock. I would love to have this kind of time management. This is amazing.
But look at this. The king is going here. She also has ideas here. It's not only you. It's not only you.
Defense is very nice.
You know, I really love this because this is really textbook defense from Tanjanki. Because again, let's go back to this moment, this e5, right? So you might play f5 immediately. She says like, you want to complicate matters? You can do it. Take on f6. Let's do this. So it's also mind games here. It's not only you who is fighting for something. So Goryachkina continue. She has some space. And king e8 is like a very nice, friendly reminder. I also have ideas here. And the king side is closed. The king goes to c6. Maybe a5 idea start to appear there. So white can misplay this if she over pushes it. So it's like a reminder. Be careful. I'm also playing here.
Also, there was one of the lines when the pawn on a6 was a weakness. So if black's king is well centralized, it can be just more practical for black in the ways. If you would like to attack my a6 pawn, I will control the b7 and c8 square by the king, because king is very close to that move.
All right, I want to show one thing how white can misplay this. For example, f4. Here, on bishop f3. It seems like we're entering a dead draw.
Okay.
But look at the bishop here, right? The role of the bishops. Here, 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 here. Now, Jose Raul Capablanca would love this position from the black's perspective. There's one weakness here. Potentially a second weakness is sitting somewhere there. And black can play this. So either of the players is hoping for some sort of position like this, either from the white's perspective or black's perspective, to have the active king, active bishop, and that's why it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen, but even if this happens, where is the second weakness? Like first weakness, I understand you have active king, if that's the weakness. And for sure it is, because I have to keep my king on d3, but then how you really improve?
You know, Keti, a good friend of mine, Igor, once said this very nice golden phrase: you only need one weakness.
Oh, really?
Yes.
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 The second one, like
because the second one is your opponent.
And so, no time on the clock.
Yeah, it's just one weakness is necessary. The second one is your opponent. He's going to do it. I mean, it's a joke, of course, right? But you can always rely on your opponent. But I mean,
you just need the one. Let's start with the one weakness.
Yeah, I mean, one weakness is on a3. So in case you're wondering, what are these two weaknesses we're talking about? It's Aaron Nimcevich. I think he was the first one to postulate it, 100 years ago. He said, in order to win the position where your opponent has one weakness, what you need to do, you need to create another weakness. So that's what we're talking about. You need to have the second weakness. And f4 is played by Goryachkina. Bishop e4 responded very quickly. So bishop f3 is never, ever, ever going to happen. Think about g3 or g4. Actually, g4 is not even creating a threat, because black can even play king d7 and try to spicy up things.
Right, waiting white to take the pawn on f5 and then create the weakness on f4.
But wait, this king is getting to d5. You also need to be a bit careful here for white. If you're overthinking things, like let's say g3, king d7, you decide, okay, maybe not g3, maybe g4. Now you decide to close here, you might be a bit slow to react against this king d5 invasion. And bishop d1 seems to be already necessary. Meet king d5, bishop b3 check.
That's right.
But again, you need some help from one of the players to change the outcome of this game.
Yeah, g2 pawn now is hanging. Bishop f3, bishop f1 obviously are the most passive moves here. g4 possibility, but g3 is the something that I would expect here to happen. Just not to lose this pawn, and then meet king d7, king c6 idea with the counter idea like bishop d1, bishop to b3, just to be ready for any kind of king move.
Right. So I think g3 is probably going to follow. I mean, g4 achieves nothing. So let's say once again g3, king d7, bishop d1, king c6, bishop b3.
Bishop d5, perhaps.
But you know, black could be ambitious here and start to play a5. Oh wait, my pawn is under attack. I'm silly. Okay, bishop d5 here.
Bishop
and let's say
d1, perhaps, Artur, because like by the moves, bishop c4 with the same idea, king d5, you have this sneaky bishop c f3 checkmate.
Okay. So what if I play a5 here? I start to be ambitious. Here?
No.
No?
No. Why not to take on a5?
All right.
And a6, for instance, a7 to be very active.
So I'm the one who is ambitious. And now you're saying you are the one who is ambitious. Okay. All right. And if I go here?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. But like, even if I just play a7, I know you would win that pawn, but look at the king activity.
Yeah, it's very good.
King b7, king.
Now
with that, I will play bishop b3.
Bishop what?
Bishop b3.
Oh, wow. Bishop b3.
Yeah.
You managed to outplay me. Okay. Nice. Strong. You can't take it. This pawn promotes.
Yeah. And if you play king to b7 to stop the pawn, then king c5. And I don't know why I'm wrong here with white.
No, you're definitely not worse. Yeah. So, all right. It's a nice idea. g4 is played and king d7. There you go. Again, this is exactly why I really like how Tanjanki plays. She's not going blindly for the draw. She says, you really want to complicate things? This is your chance. I trust in my position. Do you want to overpush it? And you saw this look of Goryachkina at the score sheet, and she's almost officially 1 hour behind on the clock. 1 hour. Full 1 hour.
Yeah, if we have decisive result today, Artur, it will be such a shock that, I don't know, I will wear a clown's hat tomorrow at the commentary if this happens.
Be careful. It might happen. I mean, probably not, but... I'm pretty sure this... Still nothing has changed. Goryachkina is not going to risk everything. She is playing on. She's seeking chances. This is how she's taught to play chess, but black is just not making any mistakes. And this g4 I slightly don't like. Because now, I guess you have to play g5. This is risky stuff. I'm not sure she wants to go here. Does she?
Is it? Because now I can play, for instance, I can, for instance, play bishop to f3. She goes g5 and closes.
Yeah, she says, okay, let's call it a day. That's it. So Goryachkina has got it, seen it all, g5. No more chances here, because now the position is completely locked. And actually, white's pawn structure is slightly worse. Maybe she still intends to push the h-pawn. Oh, look at this, by the way. Maybe this idea. Of course, it's never going to happen. But let's say, let's try to do some ridiculous move here. Here, 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 here. Now, I see, of course, you're winning the pawn, but I just want to show this very silly trick.
Nice. Yeah, bishop h5. With the idea Bishop
the idea,
G6.
yeah, to take it and G6. So maybe for Goryachkina, this is not only playing solid, make sure she doesn't misplay this position in the endgame, but also pushing the H pawn. And King C6 goes very quickly, and I guess White will have to play Bishop D1. Maybe King D2, King C3 as well. Tough to say.
Bishop D1, Bishop B3 makes a lot of sense.
This definitely does make sense, yeah, because this is actually King D5, and after King C3, this bishop would retreat. And then you need to watch out for some King E4 ideas there. So Bishop D1 is played, of course.
And also very active, because like if you play King D5 and you're not that alert to the position, Bishop B3 also loses the pawn on E6. So Goryachkina maybe defends now D5 square, but she also like counterattacks E6 pawn, which is very nice way to play.
Do you think Tan Zhongyi is trying to achieve 1 hour advantage on the clock? Because she didn't really have it. I think some seconds were missing.
No. This is 1 hour exactly, the difference between them.
Yes, but was it exactly like 1 hour? Or there's some seconds missing? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It's just some, minor achievement. From the player's perspective, I've always enjoyed to have a lot of extra time on the clock, because this means you get more confidence. This means that you get more time in critical moments. Not like this one, but still. All right, she's thinking. Maybe she's having some aggressive ideas like H6 here. What about H6? Try to complicate? Probably not. H6, H4. Take, I could take with this pawn, perhaps. F takes. White has a chance to organize it outside past pawns. So H6 maybe not very good.
Okay,
why should she do this anyway?
Yeah. But also you cannot take on G5. Black will not really touch for the moment on the king side, because like first she'll try to get something on the queen side, which is tapped right now. What black can do here is just pass the move. Just pass it, like Bishop D5, Bishop G2, stuff like that.
Let me show you a couple of mate ideas here. This is mate number 1. This king is going nowhere. And I think black can do exactly the same. Like, for fun.
For fun, yeah.
Yeah, so again, this king is mated in the center. I think I once checkmated one of my opponents like this. 2 bishops.
Really?
Yeah.
But there was a checkmate, like you give a check and it turned out to be checkmate, or you...
No, I'm pretty sure I was giving a checkmate on the board, but not as simple as this one. But one of the key ideas was to threaten with a checkmate.
Yeah, because it happens quite often in online chess when you play a bullet game or blitz game, you don't have time, you just give check, and suddenly the game ends. It's like, oh, I checkmated. It was all planned.
Right. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes. The time control, there's a mention in the chat, the time control soon. Yeah, in case you're wondering, what is the time control? It's 90 minutes for 40 moves. You're seeing correctly, yes, Tan Zhongyi has 1 hour and 9 minutes. It's not a mistake. She definitely has played very fast. And now she's taking the longest thing she has in this game, which is about 3 minutes. Because she's just playing so fast. The entire game.
That's true. That's the first moment since move 1 that she's taking the most time here, guys. They can't agree on a draw even the position is equal. They know it's equal. They are not trying to win. They just need to approach 40 move, because we have Sophia rule, which means that they cannot make a draw before 40 moves. Usually Sophia rule applies for 40 moves. 30 moves, but in this tournament it is 40 moves, which has the perspective of the organizers. Imagine you bring so many people to work at this event, you have spent already some finances for that, and then players come here, make 8 moves, make a draw, and they go in the room, right? It doesn't make any sense for the organizer. So that's why basically we have this Sofia rule. I don't believe it's because of against the draw itself, like the fast draws, but more like the organizer's perspective for videos, for photos, for sponsors, and for the viewers.
Oh yeah, and this actually sometimes happens. Imagine yourself, you're the organizer, you organize this very strong tournament, you invite the best players in the world, and they like play a quick draw in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's...
So what do you say to the sponsors, right? And they're sponsoring the tournament, they're sponsoring the event, they want to see some fighting chess so that also everybody can promote the company, the tournament can promote the tournament itself, and there you go, there's a non-fighting game, 5 minutes, very quickly played out. But I think that's one of the reasons that this
basically
was
for this, especially in the tie breaks, right? Because it makes no sense. In the knockout system, it makes no sense for players.
To be honest, it is possible to do it very quickly. I mean, if both players want a draw, they will make it. I mean, you can set whatever rules you want. They will find a draw. They will play a very well-known theoretical opening, which involves a threefold repetition. There's so many openings. So many openings which involve repetitions, right?
Yeah. Also, that should be the agreement from both players. Imagine you go to that repetition and your opponent goes to some winning line, some advantage line. You have to have the agreement. And I think between these two players at this point at the match, only communication is the handshake before and after a game. I don't believe that they are having too much of the communication at this point.
Right. Now Goryachkina is trying the last chance. H5, H6, but let's say black does nothing, like whatever, bishop e4, h5, and I just do nothing. Where's the threat? There's no threat, right? So you play h6, you're dropping the pawn. It's gone. I'm sorry, here, it's gone. So you can't really play h6. And how else do you improve this idea? You need a bishop. But where do you position it? Because you also need to watch out for the queen side. And that's why this h4, h5 is nothing, really. So maybe Goryachkina is hoping for g6, you know? The last final chance for her is g6. Then she is going to play h6.
h6 to keep this threat on the board. However, it is black to move. Black can play bishop to f8.
But okay, you could actually misplay this. I mean, check this out. You could have like something like this.
You should start bishop h5 first, I guess. Bishop h5, g takes h5, bishop c5.
Yeah, but then after bishop c5, are you okay, but let me just show it, yeah? Here. It's the same.
Yeah, it's the same problem.
Yeah, this is the final trick that Goryachkina probably wants to do. And now g takes g6. This bishop on e4 is beautiful, but unfortunately it doesn't stop this pawn. So that's why after whatever, bishop e4, h5, g6 is probably even a mistake, actually. Because
seems to me, yeah. Because bishop
even
f8 is not working. And this bishop on e4 is just a decoration, cannot really get back in on time.
Right. Almost looks like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Have you already light up your Christmas tree, Arturs?
No, I don't have it even. No, not yet.
We have on the board.
Oh. All right. Okay, Tanjaki is checking what Goryachkina wants. Yeah, and if she does play g6, then after h5, she's going to have to take it. So this is not what she wants, right? There could be issues. Bishop e8 check at some point. So I'm pretty sure I think g6 itself already is a mistake. So that's why I simply don't touch the pawn at all. Just do nothing.
Any movement on the king side is just in advantage for white. So black should not. And that's because of the king placement, Arturs. Like imagine if the king is on the king side, there is no worries whatsoever. If king is on e8, there is not such a problem. And now as king is on c6 and on the queen side, any movement on the king side would be just questionable for black.
Okay, maybe here h6 is still a move. Still fixing these pawns. So it's quite interesting, right? I mean, you show this to club level player and you explain to him, one move is bad, one move is good. How do you explain it, right? So it's all about the tactical tricks, because after g6, h6, the bishop h5 idea is definitely there. But after h6, there's no such ideas. Because after g6, how do you get the bishop to the pawn on g7? Oh, maybe actually you can find some funny ways.
Well,
but I'm not even sure where's the threat, to be honest, because the king still stands on c6. It's just, again, idea.
like if I just pass the moves like bishop d5, bishop g2.
Of course, I can just... then you have bishop c5. Okay, let me go here, here. Now I go here. And not necessarily this is good for white.
Like you can get your active king on d4, but after king takes, once again, like why I'm worse here with black? I have extra pawn. Your pawns on king side are on the light squares. If you leave the bishop with this diagonal, I'll go bishop f3 and capture them. But it's also not something that as white is having just a winning position. So imagine even if one side has extra pawn, it can also be a draw, unless there is this. So far, we have seen these crazy checkmates with the kings in the center, and also these breakthrough ideas, h5, g6, h6. So there's not any further ideas as we can find.
Queen side seems to be deadlocked. Nothing is happening there. So h5, some final tricks. And I think already for the fans of Dungeon Key, this is a good sign that she's thinking, she's not rushing. Because you could play very quickly, like, let's say, g6 and find yourself in some trouble of this h6, right? You start to see these ideas, and now that Dungeon Key is taking some time, I think she's trying to figure out what's the most precise setup.
True, and this is also another move like a5 that she's probably considering to play or not to play, because Artur, maybe after a5, b takes a5, bishop a3, we saw a6 move, and maybe black wants to push b4, b3.
Oh, things are spicing up now.
And the thing is, bishop a4 looks very nice move here. King to
this will be very nice declaration of war, right? Imagine yourself, Goryachkina is playing the final moves with probably clear intention. This game is going to finish in a draw, but she's the one still calling some shots. And then black goes, boom, a5. Do you want to play? Let's come on play. And that will be very interesting.
Side of the board.
Very interesting psychological moment. What do you do? What do you do? Are you going to risk it? Or still play it solid and play bishop c3? I'm curious what would be Goryachkina's response here. But of course, you need to have a lot of gut to play a5 here. You need to calculate it carefully.
Yeah. Is this really something here? Like,
I don't know.
The pawn b4, b3, and b2. If this pawn goes there, you can't really stop it, because like if you stop with the bishop c2, there is this ideas of bishop e4, bishop a2. If you try to keep it with the king and catch with the king, there's always bishop a4 ideas. So bishop a4, king c7, and how white is really maybe bishop c5.
Yeah, but then I give a check on c1.
Oh, and take the f4 pawn.
Right.
What
about some king d2 here?
King d2.
Just in case.
b3?
b3, I go... What do I do? Here?
That's the problem now, b2.
And here? Bishop a2, I lost a piece.
Bishop a2, bishop e4.
Maybe I need to push a7, but then the king gets to b7. This is such a tricky position. So you need somebody to gather the courage, and it's Dungeon Key. I don't know if she needs to do this, because she must suspect the game is a draw. She must expect I mean, okay, no,
But
it's a
that's
wrong word.
try, Artur. Like if after a5 you have to play bishop c3 to hold, then why I should not play it? Like I tried, and it was kind of like a trap. If you take on b takes a5, I might have some kind of counterplay. That's what she's considering. That's why she's spending the most of the time.
But think from the Dan's perspective, Keti. I mean, you're sitting here with black. You played the entire game to liquidate into a draw. You managed to achieve that. Now your opponent is making some moves, to sort of have some ideas, but there's no real ideas. You know this is a fortress. Now, do you change your mindset here and send some sort of a message to your opponent? Let's fight it out. Let's fight it out right now because I've got so much time on the clock.
Yeah.
Now, this could be a very, very interesting turning point here in the match. Despite the fact the game is pretty non-eventful, but this could be something.
Yeah, for me it makes a lot of sense. First of all, what Goryachkina is doing with white pieces on the queen side, on the king side, is the same. Like I'm trying. I know there's nothing, but I'm trying. So this is also the same. I'm trying with a5. I know that you can play bishop c3 and there's nothing there. I cannot do anything, but I'm trying. And if you are open for any complications, I have more time on the clock.
Of course, there's a fair chance that Alexandra will look at it for something like 5 minutes. She plays a5. Huge congratulations for the Chinese star here for going for the gutsy move a5. I absolutely love it. I think it's a very powerful psychological message. You want to take the fight? This is your chance. Take it. Take it.
Oh, wow. And it doesn't necessarily mean that she's weakening her position. Like, she calculated this. She's sure that nothing's happening. If Goryachkina makes a mistake, if she gets too ambitious here in this position, it can have a drawbacks. But if nothing happens, if you just decide to make a draw, then go for bishop c3.
Right. Now, very, very interesting moment. I didn't really expect that we might have such a moment here. Now Goryachkina has to really make up her mind. Are you sure you want to fight on this game because you have only 12 minutes on the clock? Although, what is it, only 4 moves to make? No, she says, I'm ready to make a draw here. Bishop c3. It was just an attempt. Try to liquidate this. So, very, very powerful psychological moment here. Maybe it doesn't affect much, but I think it sends a clear message to Goryachkina that Tanjanki is always ready to fight. Always ready.
Yeah, she's testing and also sees how much Goryachkina is ready to, respond for this kind of ideas, just some kind of risky ideas from Tan. So a takes b4 happened right now really fast. Bishop b4 is an option for sure, can be played here.
I think bishop c5 is going to follow because this would be a bad choice for black. I mean, maybe it's even a fortress, but why check it? I mean, probably it's just a fortress.
Move, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, bishop c5 looks a bit more careful. Why give up the d4 square? Give bishop c5 check, win the fight for the d4 square. White could play something like this, and then just black essentially does nothing. Just
you can give another check, Artur, now on e4, and where the king goes. If king goes on c3, then bishop e3.
That's a good way to remind white that you also have some issues here.
Yeah.
So after bishop c5 check, actually, you can't misplay this from white's perspective. The king is coming out. Again, I found another mate. Let me show it to you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
Improving. Black is improving the position now. It's on the other side of the board, but still checkmate.
So a takes on b4 is going to follow. There's no surprises here, so very interesting moment happened, at least from a psychological point of view. A takes on b4. The position is closing. And the Goryachkina is making sure she can't take the bishop.
AB, bishop d8, bishop d4. We're going to have bishop b3. Maybe that's the repetition they can go, like bishop d8 now with idea bishop b6, bishop d2. Yeah, there.
I think you're right. This makes perfect sense because you don't want to allow the bishop on b6 with a check. here. Where was this? Bishop here, bishop d8. If you now play, although I could return with bishop back on d4, check and here. I could do that, by the way. And then play bishop c5. And some ideas still here. And then after g6, I have still some ideas here.
True.
Okay, let's not completely write out this game yet. So, still some possibilities for players to make mistakes.
For Alexandra Goryachkina in any other position, we could already be panicked here for white, but still this is not big issue. As this is move 37, so 3 more moves to go, and then extra 30 minutes on the clock is here indeed very much needed.
Well, my guess is bishop. My guess is 8 takes on b4. I'm not sure what else Alexandra is researching there. So bishop b4, bishop c5 looks a bit risky.
Yeah, she's going to that line, I'm sure. Bishop b4 and bishop c5. She's just
You
calculating.
think so? I think she's going to take with the pawn.
Yeah, for sure. But she's calculating why not bishop b4, yeah.
Right. In the meantime, Tanjanki has dropped below 1 hour. So
yeah, because Artur, let's ignore this bishop c5 move that it exists. Like after bishop b4, if you play bishop d8, then I'm gonna play bishop to f8 or h5 first, and I'm gonna force you in a position where you have your pawn on g6. So now, with this decoration, we were talking about bishop on d5. Oh, she goes bishop b4?
okay. The game is on. The game is still continuing. So bishop c5 check most likely is about to follow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Unless this is forcing a draw immediately. It looks a bit ugly, but maybe white just can't crash through. Actually, can she crash through? I just give up the supposedly d4 square and I say you have nothing. Like let's say here, and I just sit and do nothing.
Get something,
What?
Like that?
No, I think it's actually pretty.
Bishop f3.
Bishop f3, I stand, I do nothing. How do you crash through?
Yeah, I can sneak in.
Maybe there's some tricks, you know? Oh, wait, there's no tricks. Black simply always plays h6. Oh, Black simply... Oh, she just takes it. Yeah. It's actually simpler. It's simpler. Because this is sort of a win for white, but it's a fortress. It's a fortress, yeah. Because the position is too close, and if the pawn was standing on g3, then maybe Goryachkina would still have some chances to crash through. Here, there's no chance at all. h6 played very quickly, and even if g takes is done, the king cannot crash through at the king's side. Look at how nice nuance it is with the pawn on h2.
Wait.
Yeah.
After h6, can I play bishop h5?
But so what do you want to achieve? Just do nothing.
And now bishop to...
I'm just standing. Bishop e8 and I do nothing. The king is not crashing through.
Yeah, I was thinking of some crazy ideas like giving up the bishop and then push e6, but that's not... No, on f5. But that's not going to happen, right?
No, I don't believe it. The only thing I would like to mention here, once again, if the pawn was standing on h2, then it wouldn't be so obvious for black, because then g takes, this king could try to march here, which is still a draw probably, but there could be some chances. With the pawn on h4, there's no points for white to crash through. So it's a very nice moment actually here. The Tanjanki does a minor, what do you call it? Minor... I don't know the word. I forgot it. Not a setback, but concession. A minor concession. She allows her opponent to form the better bishop, but she just correctly assumes it's fortress.
Yeah. Although I'm a bit surprised that she did not give a try to bishop c5.
It was definitely interesting. Yeah, here bishop c5 check. Try to play on, because she can always take on b4, you know? She can always do it. She could have played it, send another psychological message, because you can misplay this. Check. You need to be a bit accurate, and maybe start to be a bit ambitious with bishop
And
f2.
then take then. It is
wait.
always take.
Take, you can't really crash through, because now there's going to be bishop b3 and your pawn on e6 is under attack. But she could have
play king d5.
Yeah, she could have postponed the decision take on b4, but whatever. She already made up her mind. Now, I think we are going to see exactly one more move. It's going to be a draw. So the players reach move 40. If Tanzhanki offers a draw, is Goryachkina going to decline? Because they can legally offer a draw, because 40 moves can be played and Tanzhanki will have 1.5 hours on the clock.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting situation, right? If someone now, this is the moment when Goryachkina got a little bit of something in this game with the king in the center. Do you think she will keep trying, just trying, testing black here, bishop h5, bishop e8, or?
I don't know.
I think Tanzhanki would just keep playing and she will not offer a draw.
Maybe one more final trick, bishop f3 check, to make sure that black doesn't do something as ridiculous as bishop d5, because this pawn endgame would be losing. White simply collects the pawn on b5. So perhaps the final move, bishop b3, bishop f3 check, and then black finds the very difficult move, king b6, which is the only move actually which holds the position together, because king c5 has to be stopped. And there's just no way. There's just no way for white to crash through.
Right, yeah. There's really no way. The only way here to lose the game is to go to pawn endgame, losing pawn endgame, or to just bring this king on the back rank, which is makes no sense to allow white's king to go on c5. So Tanzhanki clearly sees that. And Goryachkina also sees that, but she can always give a try. Bishop f3 check, bishop h5 doesn't really make any sense. You just bring this king on b4, on b6, on the dark square, and then move with the bishop. You have bishop b3, bishop a2, bishop to c4. That's the 3 moves you have, and that's more than enough.
All right. Yeah, this game is not going to continue for a while. Although, of course, there have been some attempts. I think, again, I'm going to bring David Havel in discussion. He was once responsible for playing a dead draw fortress for 250 moves, I think. I think something 200 plus. Somebody's going to remember from the viewers, right? So there was a completely locked down position. He was pushing it for God knows for so long. I hope that Alexandra is not going to do this, because this would be done at the expense of her energy, the opponent's energy. There you go, bishop f3, final attempt. Maybe black has hallucinations. No, she does not.
No way. No way, king to b6. Yeah. Our chat says Gar too nervous. I don't know, guys. What makes Goryachkina here to be nervous in this position, and why she should be just equal? In this position, we had no major difficulties for any of the sides. Not really.
Yeah, I think she's just a bit annoyed with herself that she didn't manage to create any problems whatsoever. So it's all about the acceptance. Yeah, you have to accept yourself that this game is gone. Your opportunity to score with white is gone. So it doesn't have anything to do with the position. She's not researching any moves here. She already knows this is a dead draw. She knows this is a fortress. She knows that for white, from the white's perspective, she hasn't managed to pose any problems for Tanzhanki. And this is actually alarming. But I mean, still, very balanced, game between two players. And now she's a bit in a worse position, because tomorrow she's going to have to make a draw with black. There's the stare. She's notorious for establishing eye contact with the opponents, trying to gather some information. But I think she's going to make the move on for a draw. What do you think, Keti?
This is move 42 already. Yeah, I agree. It's time now. It's time, Alexander. Go.
Alexander, it's that time to make a draw. Now you make a draw.
You need a rest. We need a rest. Everybody needs a rest.
Mr. Scheibel would say, now you make a draw.
Who?
Mr. Scheibel. Now, he did say something else. He said, now you have to resign. I mean, I'm talking about Queen's Gambit, obviously, TV series.
Ah, okay, good.
Yeah. He was teaching the main heroine.
Yeah.
You have to resign in time. Maybe here would say, now you offer a draw, right? Because there's no way to crash through, but I don't know what else. What kind of other problems she could come up with? Some Zugzwang ideas, maybe she's researching.
Yeah.
Put the bishop on e8 and
With the
something.
bishop on the board, it's so hard. Like earlier, remember one of the days you mentioned that the knight and the bishop versus bishop, like knight can be a 6-1 because it can be limited, but bishop, it has so many space. These three squares, b3, a2, c4, are the moves for the bishop, and king is not going to move. Like our chat says, how about bishop to h5, bishop e8? That's okay. It can be possible to limit the king, but king is not going anywhere. The king is a long living tree on b6 right now.
But she's a fighter. That's why she is one of the strongest players in the world. I mean, I'm talking about Alexander Goryachkina. She is always fighting these chances, finding them out. Right? Okay, it didn't work this time. It didn't work maybe in this match so far. But in some other games, it's working. So she's seeking these chances, creating these chances. Of course, I mean, this position is so dead draw. There's nothing to talk about. But still, that's her character trait. That's how she's playing.
Not everybody saw Queen's Gambit?
What?
Really?
Oh my
No way. At least people who are watching right now as commentary on YouTube and Twitch, I am sure 99%, 100% has watched Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, Queen's Gambit has probably done such a positive boost to chess. I mean, it was released when? Last year or 2 years ago? I don't remember. Maybe 2 years ago.
I suppose.
Yeah, on Netflix, right? It became really a big hit, not only among the chess players. I mean, just the general audience. The story is about a girl who ascends to the highest levels of chess and challenges the world champion, etc. It's a very, very nice story, right? Also, actually promoting women chess, right? In a way. We did talk about the woman chess.
Absolutely, and I had a situation when I was looking for an editor for my YouTube channel, and one of the person who contacted me, who's a professional of editing, wrote me and said like, "Oh, this is the chess content. I would be interested to that." And we had a bit of conversation, and out of blue, he told me that they are expecting a baby girl in next month, and himself and his wife are thinking to name the baby girl Beth because of the Beth hormone. And he's Georgian, like Beth name in Georgia, it's not common. We never gave that names in Georgia, and he was so excited to that, and he was so much in love with chess. That was the only approach for him to chess. He never know how to play before, but he just liked the character so much, the story so much, and the whole gambit that he told me that I was really shocked to hear that.
Right. Okay, bishop h5, bishop b3, couple of moves can be made. Nothing really changes. Again, it really has to do about the acceptance when Goryachkina is going to be ready to offer a draw. Again, maybe some mind games, you know. If I'm going to make a draw, it's going to be under my terms, not yours.
Yeah, please do draw whatever terms, guys. It has been a long day already without break, and nothing exciting is happening.
So, is this it? The final move? Bishop h5, maybe the bishop has never stood there on h5, and now this is sort of an achievement for white to activate the bishop. 13 seconds for Goryachkina. 10? But of course, she's going to have extra half an hour.
Ooh.
5.
Oh no.
3 seconds. 2 seconds.
Make a move.
1 second, and then she gets extra 30 minutes. Yeah.
And Tan Chong-ki got 1 hour and 29 minutes? This is ridiculous. She has exactly 1 minute less than starting position. Wow, her time management is incredible.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But I mean, still, the game was rather peaceful, so she made a lot of... She did invest some time in the opening. It's not like she was playing too fast, but she just didn't burn the time where it's not really necessary. I mean, she saw the trade. She was very happy with a draw. Maybe if you would go back to this moment here, this 94, yeah, maybe here she could have continued with something else, because we had a feeling that perhaps Black is even entitled of having very minor advantage, because it felt that Black is positioned a little bit better, but probably so little that after exactly something like 3 minutes of things, she did play 94 because it suits really well for her match strategy.
True. Well. The most excited moment has been passed. This countdown from 9 seconds, and now it's time, I think, to play maybe next 2 moves and just offer a draw.
She plays bishop g6. She's still trying. I mean, it's unbelievable. She's threatening with bishop d5, bishop takes on f5. I mean, she finds these chances. So bishop d5, maybe Black is going to be careless. No, Tan Chong-ki says, what are we doing here? So king c6 played very quickly. She's not going to blunder this bishop f5 trick. Again, let me show it to you. So in case you're careless, after bishop g6, bishop d5, to think it's a dead draw, boom, you drop a pawn. Because now this bishop is unprotected. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. So one more final trick.
This is for sure the trick. Another thing, Artur, that I can point out a difference as a commentator, what I have seen at this point, Mano would be already agreed on a draw for long ago, while girls are playing more, and this can also result that many interviews, they are saying that they are exhausted after the game, which makes a lot of sense to me. And I have noticed this because I'm doing, I think, equal number of the commentary for the Open tournament, men tournament and the women tournament. And very often girls are openly saying that long tournaments, tough tournaments, like 2 weeks tournament, really results their the play, how they're playing. They're just getting tired out of it. And this can be also the reason that they are playing just way too long games.
Keti, can I play here g6?
Oh, please.
Just to impress the bit for h7.
What do you like?
I have no idea why I want to do this. It's just a very unique position. And imagine yourself, you show this position. How did this bishop get on h7? Make it happen.
You know that you dropped your bishop right now? Because I can play king d7, king e7. And your bishop can never see the light of the sun.
Okay, that would be quite funny, right? All right, this is not going to happen. But bishop h7, the bishop has never been there yet.
Never
so
been there
it's a
yet.
check for white.
Actually, that was very interesting move. Like after g6, you play king d7, bishop g8, king e7. And if white plays king c5, or here white plays king c5, bishop c4, you can totally save this position still.
The bishop goes back and draw is agreed. No g6 on the board.
Okay. Keti wants it over. Come on, guys. You also want this to be over because, we love to see chess. We love to do commentary, but this is so already dry position. Starting from the very beginning, like on move 20, we already knew this would be the result. But because of the Sofia rule, the game is continuing, of course, and because of the chances, for sure, this is their choice. And we have Tan Chong-ki left already the playing venue. It's always, I don't know, Artur, if you notice this, or our viewers, but Tan Chong-ki is always the one who leaves the board first, and Goryachkina is always the one who adjusts the pieces first, and then she leaves.
Yeah, very interesting minor detail.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe she just wants to go as far as possible. I don't know, but anyway, drawers agreed. Not again the most exciting day, but it doesn't mean it wasn't fun to follow. The match is level so far. It's 3 draws, so it's equal. And tomorrow at the same time, 12 p.m. Central Europe. No, sorry, 11 a.m. Central European summertime. We're going to have game 4 of the classical chess, where Tanjanki this time is going to have the white color, and she might have her final chance to get a victory in the classical time control. If not, then we are going to have a tiebreak on Sunday.
And that's not a sad news, guys, for sure. Tiebreak is really exciting format of chess in the knockout system, where the player's going to have 15 minutes plus 10 seconds, 4 games to be played, a lot of excitement, a lot of blunders, a lot of sacrifices. And in case if we have a tie in the rapid, then we're going to have a blitz games, which will be even short in time control and way more to see. My personal opinion is that I really want to see how Goryachkina is playing in the rapid segment, because we have seen already Tanjangi, we are very much impressed, and now we can give a try to see Goryachkina's play. But that's the topic of tomorrow at this time. Probably we're gonna already know or speculate what will be the next day. It will be a rapid day or not. But yeah, once again, today there was I think solid game from both players. Makes a lot
super
of sense.
Solid. Yeah, super solid.
Things, Artur, for these players. The possible title on the board, and also huge money is now played. So winner is getting 70,000 euro out of this competition. So makes a lot of sense to be solid. But I think our chat was rocking today on YouTube and also on Twitch. Thanks very much, guys, for hanging out with us and being so wonderful and interesting. So thanks a lot for the compliments and also for your suggestions and help. And thanks, Artur, also for being an awesome co-host. Final words?
Likewise, Keti. It was absolutely, it's a lot of fun to do the commentary together with you, as usual. And also, I would like to thank everybody who is watching this. It's an absolute privilege to be here. And yeah, I mean, thanks for your positive vibes. And we'll be seeing you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central European time for Americans. Sorry, you have to wake up a bit earlier for Asia or Australia. I guess it's maybe a bit more easier, but come back tomorrow for the final game 4 of the classical chess between Tanjanki and Alexander Goryachkina. Bye-bye.
Bye.